Hey Internet, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is not the Sunless Citadel, as you may have already noticed by the complete lack of any any additional intros, or, well, for that matter, the complete lack of V and Scotty. As we mentioned last week, they are out this week attending Mace in North Carolina, so if you follow the crafting news or DM Scotty, the DM's Craft on Twitter, and their various channels, you can see what they are up to this week. In the meantime, we're running a one-shot tonight. I came up with this concept for the Monster Hunter Chronicles, I don't know what, like 4 days ago. And I said, oh wait, let's run a game in it. So this is kind of an experimental one-shot with a concept I think just about anybody is familiar with, whether video games or other role-playing games or whatever. Our party tonight consists of a band of monster hunters. And yeah, so we're going to get going in just a few minutes. We're going to roll into it. We're probably going to go with our typical 2.5, maximum 3 hours probably. Unless I TPK them much sooner than that. We'll see what happens. But a couple housekeeping things real quick. Even though it's not the Sunless Citadel and you don't see anything up at the top, you probably have noticed the domain dice counter down at the bottom. And guess what? We've got some domain dice available to the players up in the top there. So what I would like to do is I'm gonna have Karen roll me a D4.
Three.
All right, and I was in my head thinking D4 plus 1, so you guys are going to start out this game with 4 domain dice. Now, I know, Karen, you've watched the stream enough to probably know, but for those that don't know, domain dice are for the players. It's a pool for the players to draw from that they can re-roll any D20 roll, or they can force me, the DM, to re-roll. You, the audience, can influence the player's fate for just 500 bits on Twitch, or a $5 donation on Twitch down below the video in the donation bar, or on YouTube Super Chat. You can purchase domain dice. Now, I only got enough on this overlay to go to 10, but we'll figure it out if somebody somehow we end up going past that. But for now, they've got 4 domain dice to get them through the night. This is an original adventure, if not in concept of Monster Hunter Chronicles. The approach I'm taking and the actual adventure itself is a very basic summary and outline that I created myself. And if you are a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/miniterraindomain of the, what is it? It's not it's the second level, journey level. If you're journey level or higher, you will receive a PDF copy of the outline to use in your own games. We are down one player who is having some technical difficulties, so if Adrian does get things sorted out, he may pop in and we'll just roll with that. So before we get into the game proper, we're going to go around the horn and we're going to have everybody introduce themselves, tell us where we can find you, plug anything you want to plug, and tell us who you are playing tonight. And we are going to start with Jeremy.
Hello, everybody. It is Jeremy. I have the YouTube channel, The Erasmus Expeditions. I'm usually playing Talmud the Unlucky. I am 1/3 of the podcast, The Dudes of Yore, that can also be found on YouTube. As far as what's going on lately, I have a new campaign starring the bearded, beautiful man sitting next to me, as well as some other people in a new world, and that is kicking off at the end of the month. I also am in the middle of running a Highlander tournament, which is going very well. I'm having a lot of fun doing that. Tonight, I am going to be playing Barreau de Vengeance. He is a human rogue arcane trickster. Very, very happy to be here.
Excellent. Next up, in her usual spot, on my channel in the lower left-hand corner, with the exception of Monday nights. It's Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I am one half of the YouTube channel Dice on Ice, and tonight I will be playing Kane, the Tiefling Monster Hunter Ranger. So if anyone can survive, it's me, right?
Right. I would have been disappointed if there wasn't a Monster Hunter Ranger in a Monster Hunter game. Next up is Karen.
So I'm Karen, and good evening, everyone. I have a small channel called Myth and Gears, where we play Genesis instead of D&D 5e. So if that at all interests you, come and check it out. Tonight I'm playing Katasha. She is a fighter, an arcane archer fighter. Looking forward to this.
Excellent. Next up, also occupying a space he has claimed already on our Sunday night games, dang it, is Connor.
Hello, I'm Connor. I am the other half of Dice on Ice. My other half, the greater half, is on the far side over there. Yep, just kind of like throw a little rock, and it lands right on Megan there. That's the other half. I'm going to be playing a Nesbin tonight, a half-orc wizard who has not always been a half-orc. In his studies and in his little experiments, he has found himself in a body that is not the best suited for wizardry, but nonetheless, he is still a competent wizard and monster and magical creature connoisseur, and hopefully his talents prove to be very useful.
All right, and it could not have been better timing if that looks like Adrian has just shown up. So Connor, let's go ahead and kill your connection with the phone, and that should slot everybody back in. Adrian, you could not have come in at a more precise time because you get to introduce yourself and your character.
Myself, I'm Adrian. It's the third time, I guess, I come to a game with Jake.
Yep.
I'm really glad I made it tonight. My character is Ellis, a half-orc bard. College of Whispers. I was just reading a bit about it ago. This is the first time I'm going to play a bard.
Awesome.
And sounds very nice. They're very spy-ish characters, so I will have a thing or two hiding behind all this friendship of years with the party.
Excellent. I am excited to get started and excited to see how many of you die tonight. So, without further ado, we're going to set the scene. For a little bit of backstory, your party, as Adrian mentioned, this group of monster hunters has been together for, we'll say, a couple of years. You have been hunting together as sanctioned monster hunters in the realm. Not that it's illegal to hunt monsters, but to go after big ticket targets, you have to have a sanction from the Lord of the Land. It is also known that monster hunter sanctions are not singular. Sanctions will be often awarded to more than one hunting party, sometimes numerous hunting parties. It's all a matter of who gets there first. So it is entirely possible that another hunting party or more is going after the same prey that you are going after. You know that the contract that you took is simply for Hydra. The contract specifies that you must take a trophy from Hydra and bring it back to prove that you have completed the contract. Any treasure that you claim in the process of your adventure is yours to keep. You also receive additional payment and ranks up in the overall monster hunter. We'll call it a union for now. One thing that is very important to know, when and if you face off against other monster hunter clans, it is entirely illegal to attack another clan directly or to kill another sanctioned hunter while on a hunt. That is, initially it was just a sort of what was known as a gentleman's agreement, and eventually came to be an actual rule that is punishable by death if you violate a contract and kill another sanctioned hunter. You have to work your ways out in a civil manner. Though often there are no witnesses to determine your civility out on the hunting ranges. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put you into a scene. We are going to start this in media res, already in action, since it is a one-shot. So as I throw it to each of you, you're going to describe your character in that moment. You are deep in the Mistmire Douselands. It is a boggy, swampy region where you were told that you would find Hydra. This area covers nearly 100 square miles, and you have been tracking your prey to this specific portion of the Mistmire Douselands. It is cold, damp. There's mist everywhere. The insects are thick, biting into your skin often, pestering you more than hurting you. Though it is cold, occasionally, as the swamp bubbles and gurgles around you, you feel the heat from the bog rising up in squelching burbles of swamp gas. Everywhere you move, it's thick, squelching mud, pools of thick gray water. All of you have just finished taking over a band of bullywugs that had descended upon you and ambushed you. Katasha, you're leaning against a stump. An arrow sticks out of your shoulder where one of the bullywugs shot you. Describe, Katasha, and your reaction to having successfully, as your party has, not without a bit of difficulty, but successfully taken down this band of more than a dozen bullywug warriors.
Katasha, without actually even really noticing the fact that she's got an arrow stuck in her shoulder at this point, she is more concerned about the rest of the party and what they're doing and how they are faring. And so she's looking around, making sure that each of them is okay, going from one to the other.
Who do you look at first?
I think she would head to Nesbin first. He seems to be the most prone to accidents in her mind.
Nesbin, you have dropped back on your butt after the last spell that you cast. You're in the muck. It's seeping into your robes, into your clothing, and there are two spears between your legs, sticking in the mud, mere inches from your precious bits, as Katasha checks on you.
Well, hello, Natasha. Have you seen my spectacles anywhere? I seem to have lost them. He's like checking around and sifting through the mud that's surrounding him. You can see that his spectacles he normally wears are very far from his face. In fact, they're nowhere to be found.
I cannot see the best with these dim orc eyes without them.
How many times have I told you to make sure that you keep them on your face?
Well, it would be easier to keep track of them if I didn't have such a large bulbous nose.
You could, tie them around your face. Keep them on better.
Yeah. That's why we keep you around, Natasha.
She shakes her head and she kind of leans out her hand to help him up. Looks like you had a near miss there, sir.
Oh, would you look at that? It seems I have.
Kane, you are standing over the body of a bullywug, pulling an arrow from its body. Give me an investigation check.
That's an 18.
An 18?
Mm-hmm.
As you pull this arrow out of this dead bullywug's body, you see about 3 feet away from you the earpieces sticking up, one lens just catching a flash of light. You see Nesbin's glasses, his spectacles. A good 15 feet from where Katasha has just helped him up out of the mud.
Kane would take the spectacles and he'd place them on the dead bullywug. And he'd pick up the bullywug and sneak up behind Nesbin and kind of take his arm and tap him on the shoulder.
And Nesbin would jump into your arms, Katasha, but also Nesbin is very large, so probably tackles you in the process.
Yeah, and she would probably scream out in pain as you kind of bury that arrow more into her shoulder than it already was.
By gods! This one's still up.
Get off me! What are you thinking you're doing?
Oh, I'm the spectacle goblin. And he would be flailing his arms.
Those are bullywugs, you horn-headed bastard, not goblins. You see by their posterior anterophorus coloring, they are clearly bullywugs.
And you just ruined the moment.
And he snatches the spectacles off of the little bullywug. And in his fingers, they are very small. And he places them daintily on the bridge of his nose, and they are these tiny little things. Very, very poorly sized to his physique.
Ha! What's better I can see? Oh, Mr. Spot.
Wipes it.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
You said that Katasha has a arrow in her shoulder?
Yep.
Yeah, it's getting pretty deep now.
Kane would go over. More serious now. You need some help?
Yes, please. I don't think I could take this out on my own.
And he would Kane would start beginning to take off his belt. Hold on, just before you say anything. And he takes it off and he would just put it to her mouth and just bite on that. And he would take it and he would push on the arrow to push it all the way through.
Oh, my ears.
Give me a strength check.
That's a 7.
Kane presses on the arrow, Katasha, pushes it through until the arrowhead you feel it bump against the bone in the top of your upper arm. Intense pain racks through your arm. Kane does not seem to be helping very much.
See, you must put your rump into it. What?
And Nesbin will try and help out Kane. whether that is through the aid action or through attempting a d20 roll on his own.
Are you going to push or pull the arrow?
Do you want me to push or pull, Kane? Not quite sure how to deal with these inconveniences.
Why don't you just take it out the side of her arm?
Which side, inside or outside?
Pull, just pull it
Do
out.
something.
Okay.
And with big brawny half-orc arms, he's going to pull on it.
All right. Go ahead and roll. Strength roll.
Heck yeah, that's a 20.
You pull the arrow out of Katasha's arm. Katasha, you feel it as it kind of was caught from Kane shoving it into the bone. It was kind of caught on the bone a little bit. So it hurts a lot. But you've had much worse. It's going to smart for a little bit, but you're not going to take any more damage than what you already did. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, from behind a patch of tall swamp grass is Beryl.
Beryl kind of comes out, kind of adjusting his robes, having just relieved himself behind this tall grass. And he kind of looks up, looks around. He's got this incredibly long hair and incredibly long goatee that accentuates his really, really lithe and thin body. He's 6'4" and weighs about 183 pounds. So he's really skinny, and this hair being straight, and especially now that it's kind of damp from all the moisture in the swamp, everything's just kind of clinging to him, including his robes, which are kind of open down the middle. He's got jewelry draped all over him, and he comes out kind of fanning a large, thick deck of cards. Well, everyone seems to have lived. How are we feeling?
Alice, you are nearest to Beryl when he asks this question. And I'll let you tell me where you are and what you're doing. That's you, Adrian.
Yeah, I'm so assigning spells. So when I see all this happening, I just watch them. On the way, I just pull out my mouth organ and I softly start playing. I said, like, are we heading forward, or you're taking much time to heal the arm?
Well, I imagine that if it was an arrow that was inside of your shoulder, that maybe you would be willing to take the time.
I approach to Katasha and I cast healing words.
And I'm going to let you do that without burning a spell slot, since this is kind of assuming this is you guys coming in media res. I don't want you guys wasting spell slots on the intro. You know now as...
So I can...
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I cast it... Yeah, so I cast it just now. Well, second level, so it's a 2d4 plus 6.
So any
It would be...
Any damage you took mostly from Kane and Nesbin, more so than the arrow itself, is taken care of, and the pain remains just a dim dull throb as a reminder. The swamp has the swamp has a gray cast around it that makes it difficult to determine how late in the day it actually is. But you spot... Actually, everybody give me perception rolls. And by the way, Megan, I saw that you re-upped your subscription, and even though it was you, I still gave you guys credit and gave you guys another domain die for that, because I do award domain dice for re-upping subscriptions, even if it's a player in the game gaming the system. All right, how'd everybody do on perception checks?
I ended up with a 13.
And Nesbin, I think, has a bit too mucky of glasses, and only got a 9 or an 8. Sorry.
Yeah, and Katasha's just a little bit preoccupied. She got a 9.
Kane is actually whistling for his dog to come bounding back from wherever she went, so he only got a 10.
Alice, Adrian, give me a perception roll. You guys can go ahead and just call out whatever you roll. I'm not watching the chat that closely, so. What'd you get for a perception roll, Adrian? You're muted. I know, I keep wanting to swat at my ear. I hear that fly buzzing around. All right, you're still muted, Adrian. I haven't heard if you said what you got.
It's on chat.
I can't see the chat. I have a window blocking it.
Oh, okay. 18. 1-8.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Perfect. Ellis and Barreau, you are the only two that notice this. As Kane, you are getting your dog, and I believe you also had a horse and a wagon, which have been struggling a bit in this muck. So you guys are pretty preoccupied with all that. But Barreau and Ellis, you notice that you kind of at first you see it out of the corner of your eye. It almost looks like a firefly, just... And then you see, as you turn to look, you see it out of the corner of your other eye. And you notice that just periodically, they almost seem to rise up out of the bog. These motes of light, greenish gold, that just seem to rise up, and they hover around. One of them, you suddenly can... you can suddenly see Katasha as it hovers nearby where you were wounded by the arrow. And it's about a fist-sized ball of light as it just... and seems to linger around where the blood is on your arm. Do you do anything?
Yeah, she would swat at it, I think, a little. Not like a harsh swat, more of a, like carry on, move along.
Go ahead and, I'm just curious. I want to give you a chance if you're trying to swat at it. Are you trying to hit it and swat it, or just shoo it?
More of a, like a gentle, like, nothing to see here, go somewhere else kind of motion. Like, she's not going to try to hurt it.
It easily, just kind of flits out of the corner of your eye. Or out of the corner of your eye. It flits away from you, out from being hit. And you just notice that at any given time, you guys can see about a half a dozen of these lights that just seem to... And as you kind of get all your stuff together and you continue moving through the swamp, these things seem to linger within about 15 or 20 feet of you constantly. or they draw back and new ones rise up out of the muck. You're not entirely certain. Anybody that wants to can give me a nature check.
Yeah, Nesbin will give a shot at this because he's like,
Magical creature.
I got a 12.
I got a 10.
14.
Anybody else? What'd you
That's
get for?
14 for me.
Okay, and what'd you get, Megan?
14.
Jeremy?
I got a 19.
Better roll. You're the only one that recognizes these things for what they are. These entities, which are actually tiny undead creatures, linger around places of death. They are, in fact, will-o-wisps. And you know that to touch one is to get a bit of a jolt, but that they are most dangerous if you are on the brink of death.
Baroque kind of watches as it interacts with Katasha just a bit, and when she goes to like swat at it, he kind of makes a, "Oh, careful! If you touch them, it is shocking. But we have nothing to fear from them unless we are close to dying. They are the willow of the wisps."
And I think Kane would reach out and just like touch it.
Make a dexterity-based attack roll. I know you're not necessarily attacking it, but make a dexterity-based attack roll.
That's a 5.
This thing just easily, just as you almost touch it, it just, with a pulse of light, and it kind of does a quick circle around your head, and then you continue moving through the muck in the direction you've been heading, tracking this creature. The sounds of your feet, every time you take a step, you get that sort of all around you as everybody's just, the mud is sucking. You can hear off in the distance creatures all around you in the mist, but you can't really see anything other than these will-o-wisps and the sound of insects, the buzzing of flies, the bubbling of the muck. You hear the creaking sound of the wood of the wagon and the rattling as the wagon trudges along through the muck pulled by the horse. Is anybody on the wagon? Would anybody be riding the wagon pulled by, I believe it was Abel, the horse?
I think Kane would jump on with his dog, and anyone else who wanted to jump in the back. There's not too much stuff in the wagon.
Who's driving the wagon?
Me. I would. Kane would. Yeah.
Katasha's actually following behind the wagon. She's leading her own horse. She's not helping it through the muck itself. So she's following along.
Yeah, I also jump on the wagon, having my hand crossbow at hand. Just guarding, taking care of the rear.
And Nesbin will take full advantage of this wagon and just like plop his big bum down in the wagon.
So
I think, yeah, Barreau probably would ride the wagon as well just to stay out of the mud.
So Katasha's the only one not riding the wagon. Megan, make a strength roll for your horse.
Sorry, I just have to look up what kind of horse it is because different horses have different. I think I bought a draft horse.
Which would be the better choice in this situation.
Yes. Okay. So that is going to be a whopping 14.
All right, and now, because it's your wagon, we're going to do everybody's favorite thing that I do. We're going to do a D100 percentile roll, where I'm going to roll a target number, because I use a sliding scale, and there is a 30% chance of something happening. So, roll me a D100. If you roll within 15 on either side of this number, it happens.
Okay, I got a 48.
That you hear the wheels as everybody, as Barreau, I believe, was the last one to clamber up. You hear your Abel is struggling a bit. His hooves kind of sinking a little deeper as for every 3 steps that he makes, he slips and is having to do extra work to pull the wagon along. And you hear as Barreau jumps up on the wagon, you hear the frame protesting. There's a groan from the axle. And it threatens, between the muck and all the weight on it, it threatens to break an axle or even break a wheel. Not to mention, it might break your horse.
All right, Nesbin, I'm sorry. You have to vacate from this wagon.
Immediately targets the big old half-orc.
Little old me. Oh, right. Not used to
gotta
this.
reap the consequences from whatever you did there.
And as Nesbin climbs out of the wagon, and just manages like kind of just like big rocks back and forth, and he sinks in the mud.
It rocks a bit. You drop down into the muck, and you notice right away that Abel suddenly kind of gives a bit of a lurch, and it's still difficult, but he's able to pull the wagon better. I would like a survival, wisdom, or nature intelligence check from everybody. If you are if you are in the back of the wagon, it's at disadvantage. So I think that's Barreau and Ellis. Kane, you are driving, so you're kind of perched up on the driver's bench, so you will make your check at advantage. And Katasha and Nesbin will make your checks at straight check.
16 nature.
All right. Katasha.
21 nature.
Kane.
22 nature.
Barreau.
So I rolled a 2 and a 1. So that would be a 1. It's actually a 4 total.
And Ellis.
What was the roll? I was reading something else.
It's survival or nature.
Okay. 14.
All right.
Either.
You notice everybody except for Ellis and Barreau, you all sort of notice this around the same point. That you have, as you're moving through this muck, there are pools of this gray, sort of thick gray standing water. Those of you that rolled a 15 or higher, you notice that the water is not moving naturally. It's not reacting naturally as the muck is pushed and kind of presses against it. It doesn't behave in the way water should behave. All of you that rolled a 15 or higher suddenly realize that you have basically sort of stumbled into a field of black pudding. Barreau, unfortunately, with that roll, you are going to need... Well, hold on a second. I'll tell you what you got to do. It's amazing they put the monster manual in alphabetical order to make it easy to find what you're looking for. Alright. Barreau. So, those of you that rolled higher than a 15, you also see the pseudopod that is reaching out of one of the pools and lashing up toward the wagon. I'm going to give you half cover, Barreau, because of the wagon. So you're going to get, I believe that's a +2 to your AC. So, does a 14 hit you? You're muted.
It will not hit me.
This gray pseudopod, the water just sort of rises up, and there's this as it slams into the wood next to you, Barreau. And you all realize now that you are in the midst of several pools of black pudding. What would you like to do? You can see the pools in the area, kind of in a horseshoe area around the cart, as several of the pools are starting to kind of... And you can see, like, pseudopods sort of reaching up.
I think immediately Kane would take out a whip and crack it so that the horse pushes on. That like starts going like fast.
Okay.
He wants to get out of this area.
And in doing so, as you crack the whip and you begin moving forward, all of the pseudopods begin undulating violently. And I'm going to have you guys all roll for initiative as you... Kane has decided for you to ride straight through the black pudding field. So, I'm going to say that your dog and your horse are on your initiative, just to make things easier. So, let's see. And I will call on each of you for your initiative rolls. All right, Barreau.
Barreau got a 14.
Ellis.
15.
Kane.
20.
Katasha.
6.
And Nesbin.
13.
Okay, here is the order. It is going to be Kane, followed by the Black Puddings, followed by Ellis, Barreau, Nesbin, and Natasha. All right, Kane, you're driving Abel in the wagon right into this field as these pseudopods begin rising up. What are you going to do?
Right now, Kane is going to focus on steering the horse and focus on urging it forward.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, as you are doing that, I'm going to say that attacks against the horse and the cart, or anybody on the cart, are at disadvantage. What about your horse is being driven, but what about your dog?
I think that the dog would immediately jump down and it's a huge dog. It's a mastiff, and the dog would immediately jump down and try to bite one of these puddings.
Okay, go ahead and make an attack roll.
Okay. So that is 11.
It hits.
Okay. Too many things open. That is a 6 damage.
Excellent. Good work from the... What's the dog's name?
Eve.
Eve. All right. And it is now the Black Pudding's turn. And the Black Pudding is going to make an attack. And I'll tell you who in a moment. What is the AC of Abel? Oh, wait, I said disadvantage against her horse. Okay. What is the AC of Abel?
$10.
A pseudopod lashes out at Abel, slamming into Abel's side. Abel takes 8 points of bludgeoning damage. And you see as the pseudopod hits on his side, his hide begins to dissolve as the acidic nature of the pseudopod begins to eat away at his flesh. And he takes an additional 21 points of acid damage.
I can imagine the horse just lets out this blood-curdling whinny as you see the flesh just dissolving just right before the eyes, and you can see the bones, you can see the muscle coming through, and then the horse just collapses.
And as Abel collapses, because you were driving so furiously, the wagon suddenly lurches. And I need Kane, Barreau, and Ellis to make dexterity saving throws.
I got a 19.
21.
In words that are rapidly becoming famous on your channel, Jake, I am going to use a domain die.
I even deliberately put you in a different spot than Talmud, hoping that maybe it would help you. But Talmud's curse, it's the Thursday night Talmud curse. It is, after all, Talmud's day. All right, burn that die, re-roll.
That is a 13 total.
Ellis and Kane, as the wagon suddenly lurches, as the harness is brought downward, as Abel collapses under the attack from this black pudding pool, you watch as these puddings just rapidly just start to engulf the horse, dissolving its flesh, its whinnying screams, crying out across the swamp until suddenly they're cut short. At the same time, the wagon digs into the front and flips up. Ellis and Kane, tell me how you successfully land in the muck from this. And Ellis, we'll go to you first.
Okay. So when I see or feel this car just rolling over, I just jump from the edge of the back of the wagon, and I do this. It's not like a 360 or a 270, but he just spins on the 3 axis as he just lands on his feet and aims the hand crossbow at the thing that just this black jello thing.
Kane, what about you?
Kane sees this horse just be destroyed. Kane would actually leap out from the front of the seat and land on his feet, but I think he would go sliding a little bit, having to catch himself on his backhand as he kind of dodges out of the way, but has to steady himself back up again on this slick, marshy jello pudding.
Barreau, you get catapulted out of the back of the wagon. You go flying over. You can see below you Kane and Ellis as they sort of land gracefully, a little more towards the front pivot point. They didn't get launched as far. You try turning yourself over in the air, and you watch as you do successfully avoid landing in the pile of puddings and horse that's quickly turning into a morbid pool of disgust. And you land with a sickening squelch in the muck, and you feel your hands begin to burn as you realize you've just landed in one of these pools. You take 3 points of acid damage.
3 points?
What's that?
3 points, you said, right?
Yes, 3 points of acid damage.
And I believe the word you were looking for, Jake, was splorch.
Yes, splorch. And you also... Your armor, as it is now covered in this black pudding, takes a permanent -1 to AC.
Does it make a difference if it is magical?
It does make a difference if it is magical.
Sweet. That's my +1. Like I'm going to a party with an invitation.
It specifically states non-magical. So it's just your skin that's taking damage.
Oh, well then that's fine.
It is now Ellis's turn. As you have successfully landed, what would you like to do, Adrian?
I take a shot at the thing.
All right, go ahead and roll an attack.
Oh, okay. I can reroll. I use Elven Accuracy.
Okay.
Because I took that feat, so I can reroll any Dex, Whiz, Int, or Charisma damage, or attack, basically.
Okay.
I got a 20 to hit.
That is absolutely going to hit.
And I do 6 damage.
What were you attacking with?
And crossbow.
Excellent. You watch as your crossbow bolt sinks in and is quickly absorbed and begins to dissolve away. Any bonus actions or anything else you want to do?
No. I just move and try to stay out of reach.
Just as a reminder, and I'm only saying this because you said you've never played a bard before, that bardic inspiration is a bonus action.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm not telling you how to play your character. I'm just reminding you because you specifically said that you've never played a bard before.
Yeah, I know. I've never done it.
I have played bards plenty, and I still forget to do inspiration.
No, don't tell me. The first time I played a monk, it died because I forget he has the deflate missile thing.
I think we've all got those first time playing a barbarian and forgetting to rage, those kind of things. So, if you wish to, you can grant bardic inspiration as a bonus action, but you don't have to.
No, that's okay.
All right. So then we move to Barreau, who has landed. For all intents and purposes, you are prone, so it will take half your movement. I also forgot to mention, I should have mentioned this, but nobody's really moved in for attack yet other than unwillingly. This is difficult terrain because of the swamp.
And do we have any way of telling how many of these things there are in our immediate area, or is it just kind of one big, like, conglomerate?
Give me a nature roll.
What's Talmud's favorite terrain? If we are in, because we can have difficult terrain if we are in his favorite thing, I guess.
Talmud isn't in this game.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about Kane being a ranger.
Yeah. What
Okay.
is your favorite terrain there, Kane?
I don't recall that I get favored terrain. I think I get a favored enemy.
And also favorite terrain.
Oh.
I think
all rangers get a favored terrain.
It depends on whether you use the one out of the book.
And on level 6, you can choose a different enemy, one more favorite enemy and one more favorite terrain.
Roll20 has failed me. It has not put in the favorite. Shows how much I play a ranger.
It might be the Unearthed Arcana version, which I think is different.
It's a part of Natural Explorer, the feature called the Natural Explorer.
Okay. I apologize. It would probably be
Don't
Forest. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Well,
yeah.
And like you said, you do get an extra one at 6th level.
Yeah. So you get just 2.
Roll a d20, Megan.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to be like too meta. Be like,
Roll
yes.
a d20. I've got a number in mind.
16.
All right, you can choose Swamp if you wish, because the number in my mind was 15 to 20.
Okay. I think that he might have, but only because he knew that they were hunting like a Hydra, so that might have been something that they would have come into contact with.
All right, what about your favored enemies?
My favorite enemies are monstrosities.
You also get a second one at 6th level.
Oh, and undead, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So, as Adrian pointed out, you guys are not affected by difficult terrain. You also can't become lost except by magical means. You remain alert to danger if you're doing other things. While tracking other creatures, you also learn their exact number, their sizes, and how long ago they passed through the area. So, things to remember that play a big part, particularly since you're in a swamp that is your favorite terrain. So, back to Barreau in your nature check. You have no idea. You muted yourself. I don't know if that was intentional. I heard complete woof, and that looked like you were still talking.
Okay. Yeah, switching back and forth between Hangouts and Zoom, the hotkeys are different, and it screws with me every time.
Maybe it was because you were in Scotty's spot.
Maybe that's what it is. Great, I get both of our curses at once. So the nature check was a 9 total.
You have no idea if there are, if it's all part of one or multiples. But
Okay.
It is your go.
So what he is going to do then, since his hands are down in this, is he's going to start murmuring to himself, and he is actually going to cast, without his usual focus, he's going to cast through his actual hands instead of his mage hand or the cards he carries, and is going to be, there's going to be dark energy that kind of comes from his sleeves and disappears into the blackness of this pudding, and matches it. Almost looks like the pudding itself is like crawling up his arms, except that the movement of this energy is going in the opposite direction as he casts Chill Touch.
All right. Is that a...
It is an attack spell. Normally, I don't know if there's any maybe advantage or something for my hands being in it currently.
I'm going to say go ahead and roll damage since you're already touching it.
Okay, it is usually a ranged spell attack.
Oh, well,
So
still.
I'll probably need to... Okay. Okay, so just go ahead and roll damage, you said?
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right. So I am 5th level, so it's increased to 2d8 necrotic damage to the tune of 10 points. And if it has an ability to do so, it cannot regain hit points until I start my next turn.
You watch as around your hands the pudding just kind of peels away as if it were in fact actual pudding. It's almost like it's curdling and forms this sort of pudding skin around where your hands were.
And as he does so, he very quickly kind of jumps to his feet, and with kind of a flourish, all of these cards like fly out of his bag and out from under his robes and swirl around him, and he's going to, as a bonus action, take a cunning action to disengage from it, to back away.
Excellent. Nesbin, you and Katasha were kind of alongside or behind the cart when, in the last few seconds, just all hell broke loose. And this cart has just kind of lifted up and catapulted in front of you. Everybody went flying. And on either side of you are these black pudding pools. What would you like to do?
Oh dear.
Nesbin begins to cast a spell, however, as he pulls out pinches of this and powdered that and smashes them together and kind of does a big flurry of sparkly magic stuff. As one of the, I imagine there's a bunch of loose kind of planks coming out of the wreckage of the wagon. And one of them kind of lifts in like a pixie dust kind of glow, and he just like launches it, catapulting it at the pseudopod that's next to him. As he casts catapult.
I love the catapult spell.
So this pudding will make a dexterity saving throw against DC 14.
I'm gonna roll my copper metal die and see what happens. So that is an 8.
Nice. So he gets impaled by this piece of wood for 12 points of damage. This would be bludgeoning damage. So I just bludgeon it with a piece of plank.
Excellent. And there's, again, with this kind of splorch sound that these things make, it just kind of, and some of the pudding splashes around, and already the piece of wood is being dissolved by the acidic nature of this thing.
That is my turn.
Katasha.
How many pudding pools do we have going on?
They're just all around you.
Katasha's going to pull out a torch from her backpack, and she's going to cast Druidcraft and immediately light it and jam it into the ground beside her, so that there's a lit torch beside her.
Okay.
And then I'm going to use Action Surge to do another action, and she's going to pull out her
lighting the torch, I consider to be an interaction, not an action. So that didn't burn your action to do that.
Druidcraft is an action.
Oh, sorry,
spell.
that's right. You cast a spell to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Excellent. Continue.
So then she's going to take her longbow, get her longbow ready with an arrow, and she's going to actually take the tip of her arrow and dice it into one of her oil flasks and light it on fire. And I'd like to shoot it if I have enough action, but I'll leave that up to you.
I'm going to allow it.
Okay. And she will shoot towards one of the pools. Now, I am a level 7, so it is automatically magical as I release it as well.
Excellent.
And that is a really bad roll. That would be 12.
That hits.
Yay! So she's got this flaming arrow that she's shooting towards one of the pools. I I guess one of the ones that looks closest to one of her party mates at this point, if that's Baroque.
Just about everybody is next to a pool, so give me a nature check real quick.
15.
You get a sense that regardless of which pool you attack, these pools all seem to be a part of the same entity.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so, and as somebody reminded me, I have an extra attack because I'm a fighter. I will shoot another flaming arrow.
All right, so go ahead and roll that second one.
That would be a 25.
Absolutely hits. So go ahead and roll damage and add a d6 for each arrow for the fire damage.
Okay, so one arrow did 5 points of piercing and 6 fire, and the other one did 10 points of piercing and 3 fire. Oh, plus 1 for the magic. I forgot that. Or, I guess, no, it doesn't get plus 1. It's just magical.
How does Katasha end this entity with these 2 arrow shots?
So it's like as she was getting all this prepared, she was taking stock of where these pools were, where like the centers it would be. And she takes 2 shots, 2 aims, and she hits one and lights this pool on fire, and then the other one on fire. And it's like she hit the actual center of this creature. And as the 2 shots find their mark, the pudding just starts to exude this horrible smoky stench as it burns and kind of infuses all the rest of the pools as they start to burn with this inky blackness.
And you watch as the pools of black pudding all around you, they begin to smolder, and they're kind of like those 4th of July, I think they call them black snakes. Those little cylinders that you light, and they just seem to just keep growing and growing. These pools just start to kind of, all around you, they catch fire. And they just kind of rise up 2, 3, 4, 5 feet and then collapse over on themselves. And then they just dissolve away into nothing. Ash covering the remnants of Abel the horse. You watch as one of these will-o-wisps swirls around and begins to circle around the dead horse. And it drops down to the body of the horse and just seems to absorb something. You see some kind of ghostly image or essence rise from the body of the horse. The light flares and then ebbs as the will-o-wisp floats away. So, you are out of combat, dispatching the black pudding field in 1 round. Your horse and your wagon are kaput. How would you guys like to proceed?
Damn. Thought that horse would survive this one. And Kane shakes his head and begins to walk over to the wagon to retrieve his things that were in the wagon. Like, is the wagon full on, like, capsized over? Is he able to get in?
So the wagon pretty much flipped over when it catapulted and kind of broke apart. You kind of have to look around. It's enough that if you look around, you can find your stuff. It's a bit mucky and it's splorched.
I can imagine that Kane has some playing cards, not just some regular playing cards, and they're all scattered everywhere, and he just kind of picks it up and he kind of looks at it, and it's all muddy and dripping. And
What about everybody else?
Oh dear. That was quite an adventure, wasn't it? I've seen that since 50 years ago, back in the woods down my home. Curious creatures these are. Quite curious.
As he's like poking at the burnt up sludge, kind of picking it up with the end of his little cane, kind of like splarches off of the end of it.
Curious. Quite curious.
Belro is kind of finding some spot somewhat out of the way and is pulling the top of his wineskin and kind of dousing the areas of his hands and arms that had been submerged in this acidic material, trying to wash the rest of it off. He's kind of sucking through his teeth, just it does not feel very pleasant at all. So curious, you say, but I see only danger.
There is a great curiosity in the things we call dangerous, for they must be dangerous for a reason. What else, we wonder, will look in these swamps if such a creature is part of its own ecosystem?
I am frightened to find out, honestly.
I am merely curious.
Karen, I think you're muted if you're talking.
I muted myself. Sorry. So Katasha would bend down and pick up that torch that's still lit, and as Nesbin is talking about how this ecosystem and all that stuff, that scholarly stuff that's just kind of going over her head, she's like, well, this worked. I think this might come in handy. So she's going to keep that lit torch lit and kind of away, and she's going to grab the reins of her horse. It's not a draft horse, but he's still alive. She's like, all right, Adam, let's carry on.
For now. Oh, sorry, did I say that loud? What about Ellis?
Oh, after he sees the creature dying, he looks around, just all falls under this, oh, my boots, man. I'm all dirty now. Let's pull up this card and keep going, guys. I need to get clean.
I'm afraid I think we're going to have to walk on foot. And Kane would kick at the wagon, and it would just fall apart even more.
Yeah, it's almost like that scene in Blues Brothers when they finally, after beating the hell out of the car, another movie you need to watch, Megan, they finally get to where they're going. Jake and Elroy jump out of the car, and it just goes, and everything falls apart. You know that while it's difficult to tell the time of day, that the grayness of the swamp is taking on a slightly darker tone, meaning the sun is on the decline, and you know you need to get a move on. I'm gonna say, Kane, why don't you give me a survival check?
That is a 13.
All right, Adrian, roll me a d6.
One.
Okay. Need to roll a couple dice real quick. Don't mind me. Okay.
Why am I afraid of hitting a one?
Okay. Basically, what you did is, I'll tell you in a little bit.
Okay.
Kane, using your innate abilities as a ranger, you move across this muck of the swamp, getting ahead of this field where the black puddings were, and you start to see that some of the pools of water, stagnant water, and some of the markings you can tell are from bipedal creatures moving through in a orderly fashion. And as a swamp is your favorite terrain, you can actually, after just sort of investigating these tracks for a little bit, you begin to see definitive footprints standing out amongst others as you realize that there are 11 sets of footprints. These footprints appear to have been made by bipedal, medium-sized creatures that have a splayed toes with a fifth toe at the back, and you can see the markings in the footprints where long talons are digging in.
Kane would get down on one knee and kind of trace his hand along these tracks, kind of feeling the mud between his fingers. Footprints here. Not quite sure what they are, but got a really nasty talon in the back. And he would call Eve over and get her to sniff these tracks to see kind of where they went, not to go after it, but just to see if she can kind of point that out to him. So if he needs to make animal handling.
Who were you pointing that to?
Eve, his dog.
Ah. Have Eve make a perception check, which I believe is at advantage because of Keen spell.
Okay. So that will be a 17.
Eve begins moving about 15 or 20 feet in front of you, suddenly tracking right along with these footprints that you've spotted. And as you continue following Eve, your party moving through the swamp, give me, anybody, in fact everybody, give me a perception check.
12.
Got a dirty 20.
Got a 9.
17.
22.
Kane, Katasha, and Ellis, you all start to realize after about maybe 10 minutes that Eve has been leading you along these footprints in a steady arc to the right, to the east, that looking at the path that she's continuing on, these footprints lead around and begin arcing around to your flank. And you start to realize you may have been allowed to spot these tracks. And that's when you hear What languages do you speak, Pero?
I speak Common, Celestial, and Thieves' Cant.
Ellis, what languages do you speak?
I speak Draconic, Elven, and Common, but I will cast Tongue on myself.
Excellent. Kane, what languages do you speak?
Kane speaks Goblin, Common, and Infernal.
And Katasha?
Common, Elvish, and Sylvan.
And Nesbin?
Common, Gnomish, and Orcish, though not very fluently.
Barrow, you can pick out syllables here and there, but not the entire phrasing. And at first, Ellis, you're struggling to pick out everything, and then as you cast this spell, the words sort of begin to form as the rest of you hear this. And you realize, Barrow, that the syllables you're picking out are partial Draconic. Oh, wait, no, that was Ellis, wasn't it? Ellis.
Yeah.
But when you cast Tongues, you begin to realize that as the words begin to form, that this is a sort of a mishmash of Abyssal and Draconic. And you begin to make out the phrases.
It looks like they found us. They're onto us. We must attack now.
As I begin to understand what they're saying, my eyes widen up. I say, "Hold on, guys. It seems we ran into a trap."
What is?
Are there any trees, or are we we're right in the marshy area, or did we have...
Pretty much in the midst of the marshy area. There are occasional, like, dead husks of trees rising up out of the swamp.
Shit. And you see Kane get out his longbow.
What is happening?
They want to attack us.
What? Where? He kind of starts looking around with his head on the swivel now.
And you're hearing Ellis the command.
Kill them now.
And because Ellis has warned you, and you were able to begin preparing, you will not be surprised by this attack, but I would like everybody to roll for initiative.
$17.
Hold on, I will come around to you guys. I gotta roll for some monsters here. And wow. Cool. All right, Barrow.
Barrow got a 7.
Ellis.
17.
Kane.
17.
Katasha.
18.
And Nesbin.
4.
All right. What is your dexterity, Katasha?
18.
Oh, so you have a plus
4.
Plus 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here is the order. It is going to be Katasha, followed by something, Well, I'll just tell you what they are. It's a one shot, and Kane, you kind of figured out based on their tracks, along with Ellis deciphering their language. It is a lizard folk war party. So the lizard shaman is going to go next, followed by both Ellis and Kane acting simultaneously. And then the lizard queen is going to go next. And then Barrel. We go fifth, and then let's see what we got left. And then the rest of the lizard folk are gonna go, and then finally Nesbin gets to go. All right, so that is Katasha. As you begin to see these figures emerging, you first see these, all of them are hulking, green-scaled humanoid creatures that sort of look like bipedal Komodo dragons. They have colorful frills, one of them seeming to be bigger than all the others and wearing a decorative headdress. Another carrying a staff. And then 9 more that begin to emerge from all around you. They are about 15 feet out, 20 feet out in the perimeter of you, with the lizard queen and the lizard shaman kind of at the head in front of you. What would you like to do?
So just before I start, we would know whether or not these kind of things would be part of a hunter party, right? Like lizard folk, not necessarily.
It's not uncommon for lizard folk to be a part of a sanctioned hunt, but these are not part of a sanctioned hunt. These are tribal lizard folk that live in this region.
Okay, yeah. So she's Katasha's going to jam that torch down into the ground beside her. It hasn't been like an hour that we've traveled. We've only traveled for like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, it hasn't been a whole hour.
Okay. And yes, then she's going to pull out the longbow and light a couple more arrows, like douse them in oil, light a couple more arrows on fire and shoot towards, we're going to go for the shaman.
All right. Go ahead and make an attack.
So the first arrow is 27 to hit.
Yeah, that just hits.
The second one's an 11.
That barely hit, I guess.
The second one misses.
So I'm going to use a bonus action to have, as that arrow is heading towards the shaman, it actually curves and hits, goes after the queen. So I get to re-roll that attack.
What feature is that?
It's called curving shot.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's not much better. That's a 13.
Oh, that would have hit the shaman. It does not hit the queen.
Okay, so the first arrow is 11 piercing with 1 fire.
So 12 total on the shaman. Excellent. And the shaman reacts. Next, the shaman is going to, seeing that you just attacked it, I think it's probably going to target you, Katasha. And you see it gesticulating and speaking as it casts a spell. And this is actually going to affect all of you. as the ground all around you, spikes begin to just... Spikes grow up out of the muck all around you. And what that means is that for every 5 feet of movement that you take in this area, you will take piercing damage from the spikes. That applies to all of you. It is both Ellis and Kane's turn. And before you get into that, shout out to Thursday Night Phenom, ooh, Chameleon Fam, ooh, who has just has just sent you guys 2 more domain dice with that $10 super chat. Thank you, Chameleon Fam. All the love. Just imagine right now, 9 Inch Nails, why do you get all the love in the world? And that's all I can sing of that, because I'm not a bard and copyright. So with that, Ellis and Kane, you are up.
So I think that Kane, are they kind of clustered together, or are they...
The queen and the shaman are probably about 10 feet apart, and then with roughly a 10-foot spacing spreading all around, you have these 9 more lizard folk starting to form almost like a semicircle around you at a distance of about 20 feet.
So you see Kane, this glint is in his eye. He loves this kind of stuff. He takes an arrow from his longbow, and he's going to try and shoot it at the queen.
All right.
But before that, he lets the arrow fly, and then you see the arrow travel along its trajectory, but then begins to glow, and all of a sudden you see another arrow, and then another, until there's a bunch of a cluster of these arrows flying towards the queen. And he's going to cast Hail of Thorns as a bonus action.
Nice.
So, does a 26 hit, and she has to make a dex saving throw, I believe, for the Hail of Thorns.
It does, in fact, hit. And what's the DC?
13.
That is a 13 on the die. That is a 14 on the dex save. Was that half
All right.
damage?
Yes. Do you round down or round up for?
I'm going to go ahead and round up for you monster hunters.
All right. So that is going to be a total of 12 piercing damage, and he's going to let another arrow fly as well for a 20
That'll
hit, which does 9.
Both of these arrows fly true, splitting into the first one splitting into multiple arrows, and you watch as just hit this large lizard queen as she cries out angrily. What about Ellis? Kind of happening simultaneously. What are you doing?
Still with my hand crossbow in hand, I aim to the lizard shaman, and I shoot to his head.
All right, take a shot.
Again, I use or make use of the elven accuracy to reroll my attack.
All right.
It's 20 to hit.
That's a hit.
And I make use of my Psychic Blades ability.
Okay.
which adds 3d6 psychic damage to the regular damage.
26.
Regular damage is 8. And psychic damage goes for 13. 13 plus 8 is 21 damage in total.
All right. I thought you said 26 when you said 2d6, didn't you?
Yeah, 2d6.
I think you said 26 psychic damage. I'm like, this guy's head's gonna explode.
No, it's 3d6.
Oh, okay.
That,
yeah, and you see as you hit the shaman, he's just. It's the psychic damage as he sort of drops to one knee, grabbing, almost digging his talons into his head. That was an impressive attack on the shaman. Looking over to the shaman, the Lizard Queen glances over to the shaman and begins charging through the muck towards you. As she runs forward, she hurls her trident at you, Kane. And that's going to be... Let's see, I'm going to grab this d20 that usually rolls well. Not this time, though. Does an 11 hit you? I don't think it does. This trident goes flying past you and sinks into the muck. But she's already crossing the distance as she leaps towards you. Her jaws open, Kane, as she attempts to bite you. Good God. That die's going back in the bag. That was a 10 to hit. As you just sort of move out of the way, and she goes flying past you, tucking into a roll and coming up on her feet. Better roll.
Okay. The shaman, whenever he was casting his magic, was he using any kind of components, or was it just through like a focus?
Give me a perception check.
All right. That's a 25.
The shaman has some sort of a leather satchel tied around its neck that it was grasping as it was casting its spells.
Excellent. So, Barreau kind of motions his hands, and as he does so, one of his hands actually comes away from its physical form and forms into kind of a ghostly apparition that very quickly fades from sight as I am casting Mage Hand as a bonus action.
All right.
And... oh, wait. No. Okay, I can control it with a bonus action. I summon it still, I think, with an action.
Yeah, you summon Mage Hand with an action.
Mm-hmm. So I summon the Mage Hand into existence, and with my hand that was not copied, I reach inside of my robes and pull out a small vial, pull the cork on it, and place it into the hand of the kind of spectral hand that is turning invisible. And it is going to float over to this shaman. And if I can do so, using Mage Hand, I'm going to butcher this word, legerdemain.
All right.
I would like to stow the object in a container worn by or carried by another creature.
I'm going to make you make a sleight of hand check with your Mage Hand at disadvantage because the shaman has its hands up and is kind of down in a crouch.
Excellent. Okay, so sleight of hand, disadvantage. 13 total.
You succeed.
Yes. Excellent. The uncorked vial was a vial of alchemist fire.
Okay. And you just
burn your herb, man.
You put the whole vial, or did you pour it into?
Yeah, like it just dumps it into the pouch, or it puts it in there upside down.
Okay. It is now all of the lizard folks' turn, as all 9 of them begin hurling javelins. I'm going to grab every D20 I have sitting in front of me right now. 5. I'm going to just go for it. 6, 7. Come on, I need 2 more. 8. Nope, that's a D12. 8. That's a sucky die. You guys might get lucky. All right, I'm going to roll 9 D20s. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is, over here, I'm going to grab a D6. The first one targets Barreau. First D20 I grab is a dirty 21. As, I'm going to move that to the side. As a javelin hits you for 3 points of piercing damage. Ellis, one comes at you. Does a 17 hit you?
Yes.
You take 6 points of piercing damage. Next one is going to hit Katasha. Does a 17 hit you?
Yes.
You take 4 points of piercing damage. Ellis, another javelin goes flying past you, lands in the muck next to you. Ellis, this one's a 22 to hit. You take 7 points of piercing damage as this next one hits you.
7.
7. Nesbin, thunk, seems to be your lot in life as a javelin lands right at your feet, right between your feet. And Kane, almost said does a 90 hit. That's a D10 that was just sitting there. 21. 21 hit you.
Yes.
You take 8 points of piercing damage from a javelin.
How far away is this thing that hit me?
They're about 20 feet away.
You see Kane's eyes lock on. He takes the arrow and his eyes just lock on to this lizard that hit him. And you see this flash of red in his eyes. And when you see that, fire comes up around this lizard. Has to make a dexterity saving throw.
What are you doing?
Hellish Rebuke.
Nice.
Yes.
That is an 8.
All right. So it is going to take 16 points.
As it just is engulfed in fire and collapses dead. Man, these guys do not like you, Ellis. Does a 12 hit you?
No.
Another javelin just misses you. And the last one, God, another one at you, Ellis. And that is a 23 to hit. For 5 points of piercing damage. As they all unleashed their volley of javelins. And finally, Neshbin, whatever the heck you're blabbering on about. Were you talking about the pronunciation of your name?
No, we're talking about legitime.
Oh, okay. Then I'm going to call you Neshbin anyway.
Neshbin. Nesbin, are there any of these lizard folk that are somewhat clustered together in a approximately 15-foot cone type area in any kind of direction?
The only way you could get any in a 15-foot cone, you could get any two.
All right.
Because they're basically spaced about 10 feet apart.
Okay. Nesbin kind of turns to the side and kind of whispers, and a little mouse crawls out of his sleeve. Like,
"Oh, Snookums, I'm wondering where you were."
And then he kind of like, with like these big, like nasty orc fingers, he's like weaving a spell, and he kind of boops it on the nose, this mouse, and kind of like outward from the nose kind of ripples like back. A little bit of like red scales kind of like emerge through the back of the fur. He's casting Dragon's Breath on the mouse. And then the mouse, that's a bonus action. And the mouse will kind of like skitter down through the marshes and kind of like hopping from plant to plant, being all sneaky like because it's a mouse. And then just like expel this huge 15-foot cone of fire to hit two of these lizard folk unawares.
So you've got the shaman and the queen. Well, the queen is actually engaged with Kane. But you've got the shaman straight ahead, and then you kind of got a fan out. So pick your target. Give me, give me a direction on the clock between 9 p.m. and 3 p.m. Or 8.
It's a tall order. That'll be 2 p.m.
What?
2 p.m.
Okay. So
mouse just kind of skitters. Yep. Against DC 14.
So that is going to get, let's see, 1 fails, 1 succeeds, 16 and a 13.
All right. So the fail will take full on 15 fire, and then the pass will take 8 fire.
One of them bursts into flame. The other one starts screaming and putting out the fire on it. And we are back at the top of the order. Kane, you're engaged with the Lizard Queen. Her rank, rotten meat breath in your face. Wait. You're right. Wait, what?
Top of the order, I have
sorry,
Katasha.
I'm looking at the wrong one. Katasha, my bad. Jeremy, keeping me honest. Let me cross these old numbers out. There we go. Katasha, you're up.
Okay, so the queen now is
standing next to Kane.
But the shaman is still up.
The shaman is currently grabbing its head and sort of in a crouch.
His brain exploding.
After Alice's psychic attack, it's pretty much reeling from that.
I think I'm going to shoot 2 arrows towards the queen that's on Kane.
Okay.
We will oil them and light them on fire first, too. And I forgot to say it last time, but they're magic as soon as I shoot them. And I would like to use a domain die on the second hit.
Okay.
Oh, that was no better. So, yeah, that's a 1.
Ooh.
That's 2 1s I rolled with that die. Okay, so the first arrow, though, is a 26 to hit.
That's a hit. Kane, make a dexterity saving throw.
Now, I have that bonus action where I miss. I can change it to a different target with the curving arrow. Would you allow that on a critical fail?
I'm going to allow it, but I'm still making Kane make a dexterity saving throw.
Okay.
So, what's your damage on the hit on the queen?
11 piercing with 5 fire.
So, 16. Alright. Whoops, that's not right. Okay. And what are you retargeting the second one at?
To one of the nearest lizards from where the queen is.
First, what'd you do on your dexterity saving throw, Kane?
I got a 23.
You just move out of the way as this arrow curves right past where your head was a moment ago.
Do you mind, Katasha? I'm kind of busy right now.
Sorry, Kane, if you just didn't dance in the way like that, I wouldn't have, almost gotcha.
So do you make a second attack then when you redirect it?
Yeah, I re-roll the attack, and it goes against a different attack. So this one is a 13.
And it was targeting at one of the lizard folk?
Yeah.
It misses, or it would hit, except it holds up this massive turtle shell shield and blocks it. Now it is the shaman's turn. You see, as it's continuing to, all of a sudden you watch as its body sort of spasms and its face elongates even more. You hear as its jaws slam shut, and it splays its legs out, which suddenly, its arms and its legs, which suddenly grow shorter. As where moments before there was a shaman lizard folk, there is now a crocodile. As it and it turns and begins to skitter away into the swamp. And that's its turn. It is now Ellis and Kane's turn. Ellis, what are you going to do?
Is it too far to shoot him again?
No. It is only able to... Let me look at what a crocodile's speed is.
Crocs, I think it's 60.
Crocodile has a speed of 20, swim speed of 30. It's not really in the water per se, so it's currently about 40 feet away from you.
Okay, let me check it.
So just about anything you could shoot short of throwing a dagger or a javelin at it should be able to do with no problem.
Yeah, I still just shoot the hand crossbow again at it.
All right.
$18 hits.
That is a hit.
And again, I use Psychic Blades on the thing, so it's basically a total of 4d6 plus 4. Okay, this time it'll do that much damage. I made 10, 12, 14 total damage.
The crocodile begins hissing and kind of flopping around as you hit it. As it sort of stops in its tracks, but still seems to be alive. What about Kane?
Kane is still in close combat with the queen, right?
That is correct.
So Kane looks at the queen. Well, you're going to be a challenge, aren't you? And he's going to cast Hunter's Mark on the queen.
All right.
And he's going to take out his hand axe from his side, and he's going to try and swipe at the queen.
I love it. Roll it.
That is not... I'm going to use a domain die.
All right. Wish I had a little exploding animation for domain dice.
That is better. That's a 17.
That is a hit.
And then, so that is going... What?
What?
I got 0 slashing damage.
How on earth did you do that?
Because I have a -1 to strength. And I rolled a 1.
Oh no. So you slash into this lizard queen.
But I do get 1d6 extra damage, I believe, because of the
from the
hunt.
hunter's mark, yes.
Okay, there we go. That was just like, what? Okay, I got a 4. And
you hear this almost barking like a laugh, lizard folk laugh as you barely scratch the surface of the skin.
He looks at her. You can see there's annoyance in his eyes, and he's gonna come back over, like, with the swipe again, to try and hit her, and that is a dirty 20 to hit, doing 8 points of damage.
That connects. And it is now the Lizard Queen's turn. As you were taking these attacks at her, and she was kind of in this, had flown past you when she missed with the bite, and she looks off to her side now, where her trident has stuck in the ground, grabs it, gives it a whoosh, and she is going to take 2 attacks with her trident at you. And I'm going to use that die, and we'll use this one. As she makes these 2 attacks, the first one is a 17 to hit, and the second is a 22 to hit.
That was a little hit.
And she strikes you with a quick jab with the first one, dealing... That's because it's 2 hands, so that's a d8. So the first strike deals 5 points of piercing, but you watch as she pulls it back, and the second time she steps into it, and she's taking the skewer act. That's not really an action, it's just a once per turn addition, that as it strikes you, she's going to deal 3d6 extra damage to you. So you're going to take a total... Oh, man. The highest number on 4 dice is a 2. So you're going to take 4, 5, 6, 9 points of piercing damage as she steps in, kind of slipping in the muck a little bit as it just misses nailing into you. And that is going to end the Lizard Queen's turn, as we now head over to Barreau. You're muted.
Damn it. Barreau is going to produce that deck of cards again. And as he does so, he shuffles through them, and as he's bridging, one of the cards kind of flies up in the air and kind of floats above him a bit. And you can see that it is it's the 2 of Swords. And as he lets the card spin in front of him, he mutters something under his breath and kind of reaches out and taps the image on the 2 of Swords. And as he does so, this kind of arcane, incorporeal crown kind of floats out of the card and towards the queen as I cast Crown of Madness upon her.
All right, fantastic. So I believe that is a saving throw?
It is a wisdom saving throw, the DC of which is going to be 14.
Let's see, that is a 10 plus... That's a 12, so that's a fail.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so she has become charmed by me for the duration. A twisted crown of jagged iron appears on its head, and madness glows in its eyes. It must use its action before moving on each of its turns to make a melee attack against a creature other than itself that I mentally choose.
Okay. So that's on your turn. You use an action to control it. Sorry, I was looking up.
No, it's before they move.
Oh, before they move. Okay.
I don't know why it says before they move specifically, but.
All right.
Yeah.
And when do they repeat the saving throw? Or do they?
The target can make a wisdom saving throw at the end of each of its turns.
Okay. It is the remaining lizard folk. It is their turn. As they are watching the damage you guys are doing, they are keeping their distance. So there's only currently 7 of them remaining. So javelins are inbound again. First one comes at Nesbin, and that is an 11.
An 11 will bounce off of his shimmering mage armor.
The next one comes flying in, and that's Katasha. Does a 19 hit you?
Yes, very much so.
As you take 7 points of piercing damage. The next one is a dirty 20 to hit Katasha for another 7 points of piercing. Katasha, does a 14 hit you?
No, she dances out of the way of that one.
Yeah, there's a hail. There's a rain of javelins coming at you. A 17 goes flying wild. Out on my random roller, I rolled a 6. It goes flying wild and hits nobody. Does a 14 hit Nesbin?
Yes, it does.
It does hit you. You take 3 points of piercing from that. And the last one, Katasha, another one comes flying at you, but lands about 5 feet away from you in the muck. I'm rolling a d6 to determine which of you are getting hit, because I don't like to pick on anybody unless it's Connor. So it is now, speaking of Connor, it is Nesbin's turn.
Alright, Snookums the mouse will continue to kind of like squeak through the underbrush. To try and catch more of these lizard folk unaware behind them, just this little tiny mouse. And then big gout of flame will come and scorch them from behind.
They both fail their dexterity saving throw.
Was they really choppy there?
They both... You're frozen, Connor. Now you're moved. Nope. Can you hear us at all, Connor? Okay. Alright. Connor and Adrian, turn off your cameras real quick. And then Connor, turn yours on. And then Adrian, turn yours on. Connor, they failed their dexterity saving throws.
Okay, cool. I apologize for whatever happened there. My internet decided to boot me, I guess. Failures will take 13 points of fire damage.
2 more lizard folk deaths at your hand, or rather your mouse's breath.
Yeah. And then Nesbin will take the dodge action because he's very scared of these javelins.
Excellent. We are... So, before we go to Katasha, everybody roll me a perception check.
$21.
11.
30, 20.
Wow.
12 for me as well.
Wow. So anybody that got over a 15 or higher, you hear several sets of heavy footsteps splorching through the muck behind the lizard folk. And then you hear these, and you see as thick muscular shapes move out of the mist, and all of the lizard folk that are remaining, the 5 that are remaining, one of them, his head just explodes in a fine red mist as something smashes into it. Another one, you see as a javelin pierces its chest, and it's raised up into the air about 6 feet and then thrown back through the muck as all around something is killing these lizard folk. And whatever this something is, it's surrounding you as well, until all that remains is the lizard queen under the charm of Barreau. And you hear and see just Ellis, you would notice this shadow emerging from the trees where this crocodile was kind of thrashing around, as suddenly a massive foot crushes in on top of the crocodile. As long as the well, actually, technically, Katasha, you don't know that the Lizard Queen is charmed by Barreau, and it's your turn.
Do I see, however... Well, I see all this carnage, right? But I don't actually see what did all this stuff.
What did you get on your perception check?
12.
No. You can't quite tell what it is.
But the only other target right now is the queen?
Yeah, it's the only target remaining other than these shadowy figures that just took out the rest of your enemies.
The spell does say that she has a crown of jagged iron on her head while the spell is active.
Katasha, give me an Arcana check.
4.
You don't know what this jagged crown is that appeared on her head.
Okay. Yeah, she will shoot towards the queen.
All right, make your attacks.
Sorry, Barreau. Okay, so that'll be a 24 and a 19.
Both of those are hits.
We have 8 points of piercing and 6 fire on the first one, and 12 points of piercing with 4 fire on the second one.
For the second time tonight, how does Katasha end this?
So as all these bodies are kind of like just falling around, Katasha looks at the only last standing creature, and she pulls those 2 arrows and just notches her bow and lets them rip. And they just kind of pierce the queen, like dead smash right in her, basically in her back. Pierce 1, pierce 2, and the last one is so powerful it goes right through. So it's quite embedded, and it probably pokes out the other side towards King, and that causes the lizard woman to kind of look down and collapse.
She collapses at King's feet. As the last living lizard folk collapses, you hear from the mist around you where these figures are, you hear and And then you hear a voice, thick, bassy, with just the slightest hint of that femininity, as you hear,
Well, well, well. Look what we done found in the swamp. Got us a bunch of bog piggies. What you see over there, crocodile? I see me some bog rats, crocodile. Let me get a look at these.
and the largest shadow that stomped on the gator, and a massive, probably 10-foot tall ogress steps forward. Each of her breasts almost as large as her belly. As she steps forward, she's holding as a crossbow a ballista, which she easily slings up onto her shoulder.
What do we have here?
And you would all recognize Mama Croc, a fellow hunter and leader of Mama Croc and the Gator Girls, her 7 half-ogre daughters. As the 7 half-ogre daughters begin to emerge from dragging the corpses of the lizard folk. Mama Croc looks at you all.
Well, it don't look like we on the trail of the same prey. Truth be told, if we hadn't interfered, you'd all be lizard food by now, I reckon. What you say to that, Barrel?
My name never sounds quite as ugly as whenever it comes from your mouth, Mama Gator. Mama Croc, whatever it is. Would you like to maybe wear something on your top so that it's not quite so repulsive?
Oh. She is covered. It's just whatever.
It's not enough.
No. I didn't mean to imply that this topless ogress was coming at you. It's already horrific enough. And near each of you, these Gator Girls are already kind of sidling up. Some of them wield large clubs. One of them has a massive shovel that the edges have been sharpened and it wields like a battle axe. A couple of them have heavy crossbows. One of these Gator Girls comes up next to you, Ellis, and puts a heavy hand on your back.
Good to see ya, Ellis.
She knocked him speechless.
Sorry for that.
I reckon you doing all right out here, Ellis?
I looked at it, just bemused, and I was like, holy fucking shit. Let's get out of here.
You guys
I started just moving backwards. Just keeping my hand crossbow loaded and up just in case they get too close.
You know that this particular Gator Girl is Geraldine. She's always fancied you. And she just kind of laughs, a bassy laugh, as you walk away. Mama Croc snaps a couple of harsh names at the some of the gator girls that are already starting to kind of head towards you. One of them's pulling apart one of the lizard folk, and she just snaps off.
Geraldine, get control yourself. We on a hunt. Connie, Karen, Megan, Jackie, y'all get around here.
And you see them all kind of snap to as Mama Croc says,
We seem to be at a bit of an impasse. We've already scouted ahead, and I know Hydra. The lair's just up that way, about a quarter mile. Now we could go in there together. We could risk taking each other out. But one of us, I think, should go in, while the other stands by and back up. How are we gonna figure this out?
So you want one person, one group to go in, tire out the Hydra enough for the next group to come in, step on their bones, and take the glory. That makes so much sense.
That's why I always liked you, King. Cutting right to the point.
And before you guys say anything or do anything further, you are stepping into a social encounter with a rival monster hunter gang. So what you need to do is figure out how you are going to win this argument to determine who goes in first. The way this is going to work, this is essentially a skill challenge. I'm going to let you guys kind of talk amongst yourselves and figure it out. You can use whatever clever ways and skills that you have to try to interact with them. And these are going to be contested rolls. You must get 3 successes before 4 failures in order to pass this challenge. Now that I've told you that, the challenge has officially begun. So, in this verbal exchange, since Mama Croc was the last one to speak, it's on you guys to determine how you would like to proceed. Anybody can speak up on their own, or you can work together, and if you have unique or clever ways you want to try to do something, I'm all ears.
Perhaps Ellis should use his charm on Geraldine.
No, what I do is I sling back my hand crossbow, try to straighten up from the last fight, taking out all those javelins that went through me. It's like, oh fuck, look at me, I'm a fucking mess right now. These them lizard folk were just so unwelcoming. But Mama Croc, right? Let me talk to you for a minute, please. So I just, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 feet away from the party and from her daughters, just to try to talk with her.
First, this is going to be the first roll. I want you to make a persuasion roll, because you're trying to convince her to step to the side and talk to you privately. So give me a persuasion roll.
I'm gonna use a domain die.
All right.
Let's use another.
You can only use 1 domain die at a time on a roll.
Okay.
So if you spend it, you have to go with whatever the new roll is.
It's 13.
Some of the Gator girls start to protest as Mama Croc looks at you. Geraldine protests perhaps the loudest, but Mama Croc just, hush now, Geraldine, and sort of swats her, backhands her as she walks past, putting a hand on your shoulder, Ellis, as you walk off to the side. Ellis has apparently decided to take this challenge on himself. I will say, this counts as one success.
Okay, so I spent a minute talking with her, trying to kind of convince her. But in that minute, I use words of terror.
What is words of terror?
If I speak to a humanoid alone for at least 1 minute, I can attempt to seed paranoia in its mind. At the end of the conversation, the target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, or be frightened of you or another creature of your choice. The target is frightened for an hour until it takes damage or their lives witness that this creature takes damage. So basically, I frighten her to.
Is that a Xanathar
to get
spell?
in? Yes,
It's
Santos.
part of the college.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes.
Cool. So that's a wisdom?
Whisper. Yes.
You know ogres have extra strong wisdom. That's a 7.
No, you don't save. I got a 14.
So as you begin talking to her and trying to convince her, Mama Croc, the more you're talking to her, she starts to, you notice she's starting to step away from you. She's backing away from you.
Well, she's not afraid of me, so she's just afraid of something whatever thing I tell her.
What do you tell her?
No, that she needs to get in first, or if she doesn't, we just start to take the lives of her daughters one by one.
Well, you would know that you can't, that it's illegal to kill other hunters. I don't know if you were in here when I said that, actually.
Oh yeah, I was here. It's just I'm just
okay. So as you say this to her, she's backing away from you, and she's just muttering,
You can't kill us. That's illegal. They'll take your sanctions away.
but there's this look in her eye, like she believes you. She believes you might actually do it. And she reaches out a hand as she backs away from you and grabs Geraldine by the scruff and pulls Geraldine even further away from you.
You keep that one away from me.
So that's going to count as a success, but Mama Croc wants nothing more to deal with you, Ellis. What about the rest of you? Who wants to try something?
I think that Kane would look to Barreau and kind of down at his cards, and then just with a slight shrug.
He kind of follows Kane's gaze for just a moment, and then kind of shakes his head. But he turns and he says, "You know, I was not certain we should share this information with you, but as we are trying our best to help one another, we were told that this was not a fully grown Hydra. It was only a child. A small one. Maybe it will not be as bad as we are thinking it will be. I would like to try a deception.
Go ahead and make a deception roll.
Come on, baby. Now follow me now.
Can I give him an inspiration die for that?
I don't need it.
What'd you get?
25.
Seeing as how in all my rolls with my ogres, I have not once rolled higher than a 6. Who are you addressing directly? Mama Croc?
Yeah, she definitely seems to be the leader.
She keeps giving a sideways glance at Ellis as she's listening to you, Barreau. Finally, she just kind of snorts. She reaches up a hand, plugs one nostril, and blows a huge, gross snot rocket down into the swamp. And she just kind of looks over all of you, looks around and says, "Come on, girls. Let's go find something meatier. Let's let these junior hunters take on the baby prey." And as they all start to gather up, some of them waving at you, Geraldine keeps looking over her shoulder at Ellis, and actually you see this half ogre woman just kind of blow a kiss at you, Ellis, as they start trudging away. If you're going to get into a charisma battle, it's great to do it with ogres and half ogres. Seriously, I never once rolled more than a 6. So, the pathway now lies clear before you. Mama Croc and her girls told you the Hydra lies just a quarter mile ahead.
Well, that didn't work the way we wanted to.
No, not at all. They're stupider than I thought they were.
What do you mean? Wasn't that what we wanted them to leave so we could go in?
We wanted them to go in first, die, and we go into an injured Hydra.
Yes. Kane has the right idea.
Oh, gotcha.
But apparently they're dumb. So, all right, Hydra.
At least they won't be getting in our way. And their foul smell has parted from us.
Barreau kind of looks at the snot rocket, and he kind of points and looks at Nesbin. This is not something you would need for your spells and things, is
I
it?
already have plenty, but thank you for offering.
Very well. It seemed to be cast aside so carelessly, I thought I should ask.
They're best collected during the heat of the summer, not during this buggy springtime weather we're having.
It is somehow even more disgusting.
So, do you guys head on towards the known region of the Hydra? Will you be moving normally, under stealth? Any special precautions? What would you like? How would you like to approach this?
Perhaps we shouldn't go gallivanting around and splorching about. Let's just be a bit more quiet. And Kane would take out a piece of mistletoe, and with these fingers, he would kind of snap this small little flame, and it would immediately light on fire. And you'd see the smoke start to rise up, but then it would spread out over the group, seemingly in this sphere. And he is casting Pass Without a Trace.
All right. So, as you all approach this area, make a stealth check. And you get a +10 to your stealth rolls because of Kane's pass without a trace.
Thank God, because I got a nat 1. So that's now a 17.
Got 25 total.
21 total.
I also got a 21.
Yes. 14, 24.
You are able to move with barely a sound. The sounds of the swamp are the only sounds around you. You barely hear your own breathing or the creaking of your armor or your weapons or anything. But you begin to notice that the swamp has taken on more of a wetness to it. It's becoming more marshy as you move through it. And you're splashing through this water. But it blends in with the splashing just as there seems to be this kind of... So you're not making any new splashes. And then you see something in the mist up ahead. You see a large shadow emerging near the trees. At first, it looks like an earthen mound with 5 trees branching off at an angle. And then you notice that the trees don't seem to sway in the wind so much as they sort of move about independently as you approach the shadow. You're about 60 feet away from it. What would you like to do?
As this swamp turns to marshland, Nesbin will actually begin to kind of like float to the surface of the water as his ring of water walking kicks in and allows him to walk unimpeded by the marshland. So he's standing like a good 4 or 5 feet above everyone else.
All right.
Katasha's not going to go any closer. I think the 60 feet sounds close enough. She's going to get her longbow ready. And
all right.
Yeah.
What about Ellis? What are you doing?
Just let me check some bird. Level.
Well,
will.
what are you doing, Barrow, as Ellis is readying whatever action he's readying?
Barrow produces this the same deck of cards again and shuffles as another one kind of almost produces itself from the stack, and he kind of takes it between his 2 fingers and almost like walks it across the back of his hand and then turns it so that he can see that it's the Page of Cups. He then reaches his other hand into the card and pulls a cup itself from the card and drinks from it. And as he does so, he completely disappears from sight as I cast invisibility on myself.
Excellent.
You stole my idea, bro.
So what are you doing, Ellis?
Doing the same. Got some visibility to myself.
Kane, Ellis, and Barrow have disappeared. What are you doing?
Kane squints his eyes and he takes a hard look at this moving mound. And can he decipher that this is the Hydra?
give me a perception check. Let me check something real quick. And you said monstrosities are your favored?
Yes.
Yeah, so advantage.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's 15.
Okay. Before I tell you what you see, I want a perception roll from everybody.
A marshy, swampy, muddy, dirty 20.
Okay.
22.
Okay.
At 21.
Okay.
Hey. 6.
Kane.
13.
Okay. Kane, you peer through, and because you know, though you've never encountered one, you know this type of creature, and you've studied up on them. It's almost as if your vision can penetrate the fog. There's this moment where everything seems to go still, and it's like a camera zooming through the molecules of the fog, parting through them, zooming in closer to the Hydra, as you see the desiccated corpse of a Hydra, all 5 heads decayed and swaying, as you see vines wrapped around the various necks leading up to the treetops, and there's a system of almost like pulleys, but they're very, very archaic with the tree branches, making it look as if the Hydra, the dead Hydra, is animating. Behind you, because none of you rolled high enough to perceive this thing, as you hear behind you
brave souls that dare to come into Hydra Seraphax's lair. What, pray tell, makes you come to the Hydra?
it is coming from behind and slightly above you. What do you do?
Who goes there?
Nesbin spins around.
I'm invisible. I run.
There's a... You run which direction? Away from this thing?
Yes.
Katasha, what do you do?
She would turn around and probably loose the arrows that she would have had readied.
Oh, okay. So that's going to happen. What about
And
Kane?
reflex.
Kane just slowly turns, not wanting to turn his back to this kind of puppeted Hydra, but not. So he kind of turns briefly to see if he can see what is speaking.
And Barreau, the invisible.
He is going to find a nearby tree and kind of slink backwards and hide against it. And then I think I'm going to ready an action with my actual action.
Well, what is going to happen now, and this is thanks to Katasha, I would like, first, I want Ellis and Barreau to make stealth checks at advantage. because you're invisible, but both of you took off.
That's for stealth, right?
Yep.
Okay. Just making sure.
I got a 21. Blackjack.
And Ellis?
Mm, 24.
Ellis, you are able to evade this thing's perception. Just barely. But Beryl, you hear, just as Katasha is turning around to unleash, you just hear,
I see your invisible form trying to escape.
and as those of you that turned around and can see now, the massive, dripping, black, elongated neck, thick, curling horns coming around to the front, black, leathery wings dripping as a massive black dragon stands behind you. And I would like you all to roll for initiative as you face the black dragon known as Hydra, or Hydra Seraphax. So we are going to roll for the last time, maybe forever for you hunters, for initiative. Alright, let's see, what is... Ooh, okay. Alright, Beryl.
Beryl got a 16.
Ellis.
9.
Kane.
23.
Natasha.
11.
And Nesbin.
14.
Here is the final combat round order. Kane will go first, followed by Beryl, followed by Nesbin, followed by Katasha, followed by Ellis, with Hydra going last. All right, Kane, you're facing your true target of your hunt, a black dragon. What are you going to do?
Kane looks to the dragon. Well, you're a big one, aren't you? Maybe you'd catch a good price. And he is going to cast darkness.
Okay.
On the dragon's head, if possible. It's 60 feet.
No.
I think you can cast it at a point, so you could designate the point where its head is, and it's basically going to be this. What is the radius on that?
The radius is 15 feet.
So yeah, there's basically going to be a 30-foot sphere of darkness that engulfs its head.
And he is going to start walking away, like just kind of backing up at a jog.
All you hear in response is... As it is now Beryl's turn.
Once again, that deck, not that anyone can see it, but it comes out, shuffles, and this time another card comes out. He flips it backwards on the other hand and produces the Magician card. And as he does so, he actually does a little bit more hand magic and divides the card into two different ones of the same. And then he flings both of them out as they then burn with white-hot energy and zip away from him with 2 beams of Eldritch Blast.
Nice.
The first one, I am going to spend a domain die.
The domain die dwindle.
That's a natural 20.
Nice.
It was worth
if ever you're going to crit against a dragon.
All right, and then the second beam will be a 19 to hit.
That also hits.
Yes, cool.
Just
okay,
before
so
they hit, the dragon uses its legendary ability, breaking the fourth wall, to say,
"Not even domain dice can save you." What?
As the domain die actually saves you.
Deadpool as a dragon would be frightening. I'm just saying.
Okay, Mike.
Okay, the first beam.
I'm gonna have to call that a Lasham. Breaking the fourth wall is hereby known as a Lasham.
Okay,
all right, so you got a crit, which the way I do crits, of course, is automatic maximum damage, then roll your damage dice one more time.
Okay. So the first beam is going to do 16 points of force damage.
All right.
The second will do 8.
Excellent. As these beams of energy lash out, using one of its actual legendary actions, it is going to whip its tail around. And how far away did you back, Kane?
He would have backed his full movement, so if there's no
and you're not hindered by the terrain.
Okay, that's 30 feet then.
So you are fortunate that you moved far enough away because it really wanted to target you. It is instead going to target one of the only 2 people that are in range. So let's see. Evens, it's Katasha. Odds, it's Nesbin. It's Nesbin as the tail swings around. Wow, really? So that is a 13 to hit. Does that hit, Nesbin?
That'll do it. That'll do it. You'll hit the...
There's a whooshing sound as the tail swings. This dragon tail swings through the air and slams into you where you stand on top of the surface of this bog water. And you take 19 points of bludgeoning damage.
90 points?
19.
Oh.
And that was its legendary action. So it is now Nesbin's turn.
He is kind of knocked back. Oof. But he lands on his back, and he's kind of like rippling in the water, and he's held aloft by his magical ring. He gets up.
All right, Snookums, it's your turn.
And he would throw Snookums in the air, this little mouse. And then he casts a spell. He casts Polymorph on Snookums and turns him into a giant crocodile.
Okay.
Midair. And just like lurching, snapping giant crocodile. Or not like a regular crocodile. This thing's a massive crocodile. Will then come and slam, I don't know, like jaw open, like on the neck, and try and clamp the neck of this dragon and bring it down into the water.
Okay.
Yeah. Giant crocodile. That is my 4th level spell. I think giant crocodile bite. It'll be a 22 to hit.
That'll hit.
Alright. It'll do some amount of damage. 19 points of piercing damage, and now the dragon is grappled. Until this grapple ends, the target is restrained, and the crocodile cannot bite another target. So yeah, the crocodile just vice jaw clamping on this neck, lashing and writhing in the swamp water, trying to just bring it down and just sever this neck.
Using as a reaction its legendary action, the dragon pushes off from the swamp with a flare of its wings. Katasha, Nesbin, and the crocodile all need to make dexterity saving throws as it's using its wing attack.
16 for both Nesbin and crocodile.
Wait,
named
hold
Snickles.
on one second, because I want to make sure I'm not screwing you over. Check something. Nope, that's not a movement, so it can do that. I was just checking the grapple, because its speed becomes 0, but it doesn't actually have to move to be able to do the wing attack, so...
What does restrained do? That's the bigger question. So that's the crocodile's bonus, is also restrained.
The creature has disadvantage on dexterity saving throws, and attack rolls against it have advantage.
And its attack rolls are disadvantage. Alright, cool.
Yep. Okay. So, yeah, how'd you guys do on dexterity?
So Croc and Nesbin both got 16.
Fail.
Katasha got 21.
Katasha, you succeed. You hold your ground. The crocodile and Nesbin are going to take 14 points of bludgeoning damage. And yeah, I'm gonna say, just because crocodiles have powerful jaws, that it's not gonna be enough to make it let go. So it is now Katasha's turn.
Tasha is standing her ground, and she is going to loose 2 arrows at the dragon.
All right.
And they be magic. Oh, and the first one is a crit.
Nice.
So I'm also going to make that one an enfeebling arrow. So the creature is going to take additional necrotic damage and will have to make a con save.
Okay. What's the DC on the con save?
13.
8 on the die, so that's an 18 for its con save.
Okay, so that means the con save was so that if he had failed, then his weapon attacks would have been at half the damage. And then, but he's going to take, was it max damage?
Max damage, and then roll your damage dice one more time.
Now, what about the necrotic damage? Is that added just the once, or is that added twice?
If that was on the crit, then that's doubled as well.
Okay, so...
Or rather, that you take the max and then roll those damage dice one more time.
Okay, so... Sorry, I'm doing math. So it's a total of 40 damage.
Good lord.
The necrotic is 19 of that, if that matters.
It doesn't.
And then the second attack would have been an 11, like the second arrow. So
yeah, that's absolutely a miss. That's a solid attack with a single arrow, though.
And then, as a bonus action, I would like to do my second wind.
Okay. So that's so you can spend some hit dice.
Yeah. Gain 12 hit points.
All right. Ellis, you're up. And as far as you can tell, the dragon has not spotted you. And its head is engulfed. Its head is completely engulfed in, which technically, now that I think about it, the crocodile should have had disadvantage on that attack because of the darkness. But I'm just going to let it stand.
But it was a flying crocodile, so...
Yeah, it's still flying through the dark. Through the magical darkness. But anyway, Ellis.
I still don't know what to do. I have a lot of things that I could do right now.
You're in the fight.
But
You're in the boss battle with a dragon. Whatever you got, you should probably do.
Because I don't want to just waste some spell slots in vain. I'm just gonna aim at it and hit it with the hand crossbow.
Okay. Attack. That's with advantage because of the grapple.
Okay, so I may have to die. It's 25 to hit.
25 to hit? That will hit.
Yeah. And I use my last inspiration die to do the psychic blades.
Okay.
I got 18 damage in total.
Was there a save versus the psychic damage?
No, it's just added damage.
Oh, okay. So what was the total damage?
18.
All right. As these crossbow bolts and arrows are flying with a heretofore unseen force, it is now in Hydra Seraphax's turn. Why are you shaking your head no?
Because I don't want it to take a turn.
Oh, I thought maybe I messed something up. I'm like, no, that's right.
No, unfortunately.
So, it is first going to, let's see. Okay, it is going to attack at the crocodile that is currently biting its neck. Is there a strength DC to break that?
Yeah, DC 16 to break the croc's hold.
You know what? Yeah, let's try that. That is a 19 on the die, so that is a 25.
Good enough.
As it reaches up and it yanks the crocodile off of its neck. And, well, shoot. Technically, that's an action. So, that's its turn to, well, to pull it off, and then it is going to fly 40 feet into the air until it's out of this sphere of darkness. And then it's going to let go of the crocodile. So the crocodile is going to take...
I would like to reaction cast Featherfall.
Well, then it will take no damage. As you save your crocodile.
As it floats down gently.
The crocodile does this. Probably looking confused as the dragon.
This mouse is very used to this. This is a walk in the park. The dragon might be very confused.
And it is going to now be Kane's turn.
Kane is going to look at this dragon, and you see he looks at it for a while, and you see his eyes flash red as they did when they ignited the lizard. But you see there's this strange glint in the dragon's eye as well that corresponds, that kind of echoes Kane's. And he is using his Slayer's Prey on the dragon.
What does that do?
The first time each turn that I hit a target, it makes an extra 1d6 damage.
All right.
Yeah. And then he's going to aim his arrows, his longbow, at this dragon and fire a couple of shots.
All right.
That's a 23 and a 27 to hit.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a total of 28 damage.
Wow.
As he kind of lets these loose, hoping to get the most vulnerable places, if there is any, of this dragon. He is freaking out right now because he did so much research on the Hydra. He made himself ready to get it. And so having this, he is just freaking out.
All right. Barreau
takes a small step back towards that tree that he attempted to hide behind before, and he wants to attempt as a bonus action, a cunning action, to hide as he produces this deck of cards again.
Okay. So make a
stealth is it's a 13.
You are hidden.
Yes. Okay, cool. He once again shuffles the cards, kind of ducking behind this tree, and another one produces itself, and he kind of flicks it up and presses with just a single finger so it sticks to the tree momentarily. The deck is gone up one of his sleeves in a flash, and he reaches into the card with both hands and pulls from the Knight of Wands. He pulls the crossbow right off of the side of his horse, and then grabs one of the wands that's kind of displayed around him and loads it into the crossbow as a bolt, and then leans out from behind this tree and is going to take a shot.
All right.
Is he within 80 feet?
I'm going to say yes, because he was about 40 feet in the air, and you would have probably moved about 30 feet total away from him. So, yeah, he's within 80 feet.
Cool. So I should have advantage if I'm hidden, if I'm not mistaken.
Why are you getting advantage?
If I'm hidden.
Oh, hidden. I thought you said I have advantage if I'm hidden. I'm like, I don't think that's how it works.
Well, just anytime I attack, I've got advantage, right? That's
no, yes, you are.
How this game works.
You are correct.
Okay. I'm going to spin a domain die.
That's right, Talmud.
I love you, Talmud, but come on, man.
Use those domain dice.
There we go. All right. That is going to be a 23 to hit.
That will hit.
Good. I will slap him for... Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's 10... 16... It's going to be 19 points of damage with my sneak attack added in.
All right. You're watching as these attacks are hitting, and with each successive attack, scales are sloughing off of the dragon, dripping like a thick ichor as it's taking more and more damage. And it is now... Good lord, that's only the second person to go. Nesbin.
You said this dragon is up in the air, correct?
40 feet above you.
All right, he's gonna pull out a little bit of thin cords that have been spun by some strange spider, and he weaves them in his hands. And
He says, "Oh no, you'll fight on our terms, great dragon."
and he's casting Earthbind on the dragon in the air, as like silky webbing things made of magical energy kind of wrap around it and begin to like really pull it to the ground and wrap its wings in. So I need the dragon to make a strength saving throw against DC 14.
That is a 13. However, it's going to use one of its legendary resistances to automatically succeed on a saving throw it fails. As these silvery bindings try to grab it and start to pull it down, you just hear "No!" and it gives just a thwax as that bindings break. That is one of its legendary resistance.
And then the crocodile will ready in action to like snap at the dragon if it ever descends.
All right. Natasha.
So she's tracking this dragon as it's trying to fly away, and she pulls out another couple arrows, and she's going to shoot at this dragon as it's flying. Or try to. So the best one was a 14.
I'm not telling you to use it, but you have one domain die remaining.
I think I'm going to let it sit there. We might need it.
Then Hydra Seraphax just laughs at your feeble arrow attacks. He doesn't actually laugh. He actually says that. He says, "Then Hydra Seraphax laughs at your feeble arrow attacks. Human."
Katasha mocks you because you are running away, you silly black dragon.
And it is now Ellis's turn. I think this is extra funny because in the last Affairs of Dragons game, you played the only chromatic, a bunch of metallics, and you played a young black dragon wormling. It is now canon that your black dragon wormling was stolen from Zen Hydra Seraphax. All right, Ellis, you're up.
Hey, I don't know how damage it is, but I'm just gonna try to cast sleep on the dragon.
Oh. All right. So
I will go cast sleep on with using a 3rd level.
All right, you go ahead and roll while I
so
figure out.
Yeah, I have to roll 9 d8s to determine the HP it affects. I'm rolling 4 right now. They get 12, 18, 26.
26 total?
No, yeah, no, I need to roll another time. Because I have to roll 9. I only have 4 dice with it. Got 26 plus 6, 32. 32 and 2, 34. 34 and 8, 42. And I have to roll one more die. $38 total HP.
48.
38.
All right. So you cast your sleep spell on Hydra Seraphax, and as your spell effect hits him, you see his wings falter.
No.
And he drops a full 40 feet down to the swamp. There's a huge splash.
You didn't think I would fall that easy, did you?
As he inhales. That was a good effort. You had me worried, but you were quite a bit short of the HP you actually needed.
Okay.
Inhale.
Actually, I got very good rolls. I got like 3-6 on the first
I know,
roll.
I'm listening
then
to you add
2-8.
those up, and I'm going, oh crap, they're going to take this dragon down. He is inhaling deeply. And he is going to be targeting Ellis specifically, who just tried to put him to sleep. Actually, I'm wondering if he would go for Ellis or Katasha, who's done a heck of a lot of damage to him.
And I'm mocking him.
All right.
Called him a silly black
Here we
dragon.
go. Yeah, here we go. Evens, it's Katasha. Odds, it's Ellis. It's a 5. And you had run off away from everybody else as he expels a 5-foot wide, 60-foot line of pure acid. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, Ellis. As I ready 12d8.
$21 to save.
So you're only going to take half damage. So I'm going to just roll these 3 times. So you're going to take, let's see, 10, 15.
There's no way I can take no damage.
15 plus 7 is 22, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 44, 48. So 24 points of acid damage.
24.
24 points of acid damage. Are you still standing?
Yeah.
This angers Hydra Seraphax, who immediately...
But I don't like taking damage.
Who immediately uses his legendary action to whip his tail around at Katasha. Katasha, that is a 15 plus 11, so 26 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
I don't know why I paused to wait for you to say, yeah, that hits, but... so you're going to take 17 points of bludgeoning damage as the tail slams into you. And it is now Barrel's turn.
I would like to interject and say that this would trigger the Croc's bite, the ready to action.
I'll say yeah, because it landed.
Yeah. Snappy, snappy. Gator is crappy. That'll be a 23 to hit.
That's going to hit.
for 19 points of damage and a grapple.
18 makes that.
Oh, sorry, add another one. Sorry, add 5 more. 24 damage.
Okay. As the giant crocodile gets a good hold on it, and it is now Beryl's turn. Wait, no, you're right. I don't know why I jumped up to Beryl. Oh, I know, because I wrote a 1 for 1 legendary resistance used right above your name, Jeremy. Yes, it's Kane's turn. The dragon is on the ground, currently grappled by a giant crocodile. What are you going to do? Attacks against him have advantage.
Kane is going to let fly another 2 arrows, and same with when he hit the queen. The first arrow breaks into 2, then 4, then 8, then 16, as does another hail of thorns. With the dragon has to make a dex saving throw,
Which I think is at disadvantage because of the grapple.
Or auto fail. Jeez. I remember reading this.
Becomes
Why is
0.
D&D so hard? Disadvantage, you're right.
So
I got a 23 and a 16 to hit.
that's a...
Just keep doing damage to that thing so I can put it to sleep.
So it's a 6, but it's going to burn a second legendary resistance to automatically succeed.
Okay, then I believe it takes half.
So what were the to hit?
23 and 16.
The 23 hits.
Okay. So that is going to be 13 points of damage.
As these arrows land in its hide, hitting it, you see more of these scales just sort of sloughing off of it, and it sort of staggers a moment.
No, this cannot be. It will not be.
And it is going to... It is going to swing its tail around again. And this time it's going towards Katasha. Are you freaking kidding me? 13 to hit.
No, Natasha jumps over that one. It misses.
No.
Beryl. Then Hydra Seraphax is growing frustrated and appears to be growing weaker.
Once again, with a bonus action, is going to attempt to stay behind this tree and from the sight of this black dragon. So I'm going to try to cunning action to hide again. That is only a 10, however.
Let's see. It's a 4 on the perception, but it has a plus 11 to its perception.
Oh.
It sees what you are doing. So you are
All right.
not hidden.
As it kind of looks up and locks eyes with me as I'm trying my best to stay away from sight, I'm going to switch tactics, drop the crossbow at my feet, and kind of very quickly shuffle the cards again and pull forth once again the magician, split it into 2, and fling 2 more Eldritch Blasts.
All right.
The first of which is going to be 12.
That is going to miss.
Yeah.
Ooh, that. it's straight away.
The second of which is going to be a 19.
That is going to hit.
Good deal. All right, so it has 10 points of force damage.
No, this cannot be.
The dragon is looking pretty bad. Nesbin.
Oh, Snookums, this isn't even your final form!
And Nesbin's going to cast a spell upon the giant crocodile known as Snookums. But first, I'm curious, what size category is this dragon?
It is huge.
Okay, so this giant crocodile, the ground shakes, the earth trembles, trees snap like twigs, as this giant crocodile now is twice the size of this dragon in every dimension. It is now gargantuan sized, as I have cast enlarge upon it.
On what?
On the crocodile.
On the crocodile?
On the crocodile. Yeah. And now this super Goliath crocodile will keep just like ravaging the neck of this dragon, whipping it back and forth, smashing it into the side of the swamp and trees and boulders and shit, and just like roar! And so that's going to be a melee attack.
Okay.
That'll be a 22 to hit.
That hits.
Oof, almost max damage here. 29, 30, 35 points of piercing damage, and the grapple is maintained.
How does Schnookums end this?
It is almost
and
like...
Damn you, Connor, for making me say that.
We've all seen Avengers, where Hulk just pulverizes Loki. This is a reenactment of that scene, where this giant crocodile just towers over this puny dragon now, except we're witnessing this from the perspective of ants. Just like these big lumbering motions, crocodile just rips up and like holds the dragon aloft. It's like squealing and shaking and trying to just like slash at it, but just whoop boom bam, whoop boom bam, as the crocodile just like lashes its own head side to side, pulverizing and destroying both the dragon and just the landscape, as the dragon just becomes one pulpy, broken mush. And then, almost cinematically, as the dragon is breathing its last little breaths, the crocodile just like poof, and plumps in a little puddle as the mouse, who kind of like rubs its face and kind of skitters back to Nesbin.
Before we see your victory dance, you just had a gargantuan crocodile thrash a huge dragon around like a rag doll in the middle of the swamp where all of you are. I'm gonna need some dexterity saving throws.
Well, Nesbin got an 18.
I got a 16.
Got a 21.
I also got a 21.
Ellis? What'd you get for dex?
24.
Okay, who got the 16? You barely passed, buddy. I set a DC of 15 for that. As you guys are all scrambling around trying to dodge this thing, your party of monster hunters has just taken down a CR-14 adult black dragon. And I thought I was being too harsh putting an adult against you guys. Man, I should have hit you with the CR-21 ancient black dragon.
What size could I get? That's be gargantuan size then?
Yeah, that one's gargantuan.
Yeah. All right.
It also has... I actually rolled for this thing's hit points. Because it has 17d12 plus 85. It defaults to 195. I only rolled 201. That's why I was worried when you were rolling the sleep spell. Because you actually came within like 20 hit points of putting it to sleep.
That's what I was saving that fourth spell slot to the more advanced rounds. Like, if I could burn to level 3, like if it doesn't put it to sleep, as the battle went on, I could I just got it with the 4th level. That will do it. That will do the job. And also, I just thought of using Tasha's hideous laughter.
Well, you guys dominated this dragon. I don't. How close was anybody to dying?
I was under.
I was 28 points left.
It really. When it had to fly up above the darkness, it couldn't use its tail or wing attacks. It was too high up to do anything with that. And using an action to break the grapple, if I hadn't have done that, it would have killed a couple of you, I'm sure. Yeah, you guys successfully killed the black dragon. You're able to harvest whatever you want as trophy. Not to mention, you would be able to search the area because you're in its lair and reap the rewards of massive treasure. Your treasure hunters, your monster hunters deed will be chronicled in the halls of the hunters. And you guys were the first hunting party in my experimental
What about the ogre?
Chronicles series. What's that?
The ogres. I was expecting them to try to hunt us after killing the dragon.
I changed their name. Originally they were called Mama Satch and the what were they called? Mama Satch and the Bog Rat Boys or something like that. And I thought, no, I want them to all be girls. And I changed them to the Swamp Gas Sisters. And then as I was working on them, I kind of liked the whole Mama Croc and the Gator Girls. And then I just gave them all your names or variations of your names for fun. But yeah, that was my kind of experimental. I had planned from the get-go, in everything in pitching this and talking about it, I never once said the Hydra. I always said Hydra. And nobody asked for any kind of checks for any knowledge checks on Hydras. Had you done that, you may have found some clues to indicate that you were there was a switcheroo going on, or maybe even to know that there was a dragon in this region by the name of Hydra. I was a little worried. I mean, how did you guys feel about the switcheroo?
I thought it was great.
I loved it. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like, okay, we're expecting a baby Hydra, then we find a Hydra dead. It's like, okay, what's happening?
I was so excited when Connor said that Nesbin was specifically looking for the Hydra blood to complete his spell. I'm like, oh, buddy.
At first, when you started talking about it being dead, I was like, oh god, it's going to be an undead Hydra. I was like, that's just wicked.
I actually ran the switcheroo by a couple people just to get their opinions. I honestly thought that it was going to be a bigger challenge, but a 7th level party of 5 puts out a lot of damage, and I honestly, I should have thrown that ancient at you guys, but I thought, man, an adult dragon, and I actually didn't bother with lair actions. But just real quick, the Will-O-Wisps.
How many rounds did it last? Like 3 or 4?
What's that?
How many rounds did the?
I think you guys took it down in the 3rd round. I thought you guys were going to kill it in 2 rounds. Let's see. So the Will-O-Wisps were meant to just kind of be an ever-present danger, so that if somebody did get knocked unconscious, there's a chance. If you get hit by a Will-O-Wisp, you're dead. If you fail a con save, it's low, but then you're dead. No death saves or anything. The Black Pudding Pools was never really intended to be a combat encounter. It was kind of thought once you found your way there, you would carefully navigate it until Megan decided to just drive right through it. So, and then the next thing was the Mistmire monsters, and that's where I had you roll a d6. Adrian rolled a 1, which is the Lizard Folk War Party, consisting of 1 Lizard Queen, 1 Lizard Shaman, and 1 D6 plus 2 Lizard Folk. Or you could have fought a Catoblepus. Or that's a creature from the Volos, and actually Locrius has a video on the Catoblepus. It's a nasty creature. Or you could have fought 1 Bandy Hob and 1 D6 Bullywugs, or a Shambling Mound, or a Yuan-Ti Abomination, or 1 D4 Trolls. So, I really couldn't, there was no way I could plan for what that encounter was going to be. It was entirely up to what you rolled. I just saw that in the chat. Marquise, if you watch the Cholta Personality Game on Sundays, that's definitely an in-joke. So then I had designed for the encounter with Mama Satch or Mama Croc and the Gator Girls to be a social encounter. What do you guys think of the social challenge with the rival gang?
It was good.
I like how that was a part of the whole thing, that it wasn't purely combat. It was because role-playing scenes when you're out in the middle of the swamp is not something that you really expect a lot of. So it was a nice little surprise to change things up, I think.
Yeah, so...
I agree.
Yeah, that was...
And I'm happy that my choice of character was really, really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, especially against very low charisma creatures. I mean, I never once rolled above a 6, and they all had a -2 to their charisma. So unless you guys botched it, they were going nowhere. But the only thing that would have changed is if they had beat you, they would have gotten the right of first pass at the monster, and you guys basically would have heard them fighting, would have heard some their confusion at discovering the false Hydra. Then you would have heard the Dragon Rise attack and destroy them, which would have given you the element of surprise on the dragon. So I have it written all up in a PDF. I'm going to make a couple changes just for where I made the name changes. If you are a Mini Terrain Domain Patreon supporter at patreon.com/Mini Terrain Domain at the journey level or above, which is level 2 of 4, you will get tomorrow a copy of this PDF. That's one of the rewards for Patreons or patrons, is that all original one-shot adventures that I run, I will do up an outline. It's actually designed with like a watermarked, I actually designed the parchment paper look, the watermark. It's got a little bit of design to it. It's not something I can sell because I'm using specific monsters and stuff, but it's a way to let you as a supporter take these ideas and use them in your own games. And everything is there written out with the D6 chart and what kind of checks to make and everything like that. And actually, if you look at the PDF, the last thing on there is an image of a black dragon. So, yeah, I gotta be sure to put that name in there, because literally I was like, I should give it a more dragon name, and I made the dragon up right before it said its name. So, Zen Hydra Seraphax was the dragon you fought, which is now canon that Karen's dragon wormling was part of its offspring. So, this game went a little longer. I mean, we got a little bit of a late start, but it went a little bit longer than we usually run, so it's a little late on a Thursday night, but it's a Thursday night. So, real quick, I'm going to give each person one last chance to plug what they want to plug. Give me any final thoughts on the game, and then we are going to bid you all adieu. I do want to say that normally Sunless Citadel happens in this time slot, but V and Scotty are in North Carolina at the Mace convention. And we're still trying to figure out exactly if Sunless Citadel is going to come back next week. It's probably not, or what we're going to do, because we're going to be down a Scotty next week. And then the week after that is Thanksgiving. So But there will, with the exception of Thanksgiving Thursday, there will be content happening here. And then on Thanksgiving Thursday, we'll probably do a rerun, maybe of this game or something like that. So, all right, I'm going to throw it over to Adrian. Final thoughts, and go ahead and plug whatever you want to plug.
I like when the Dragon. It was a really fun experience. I really love your games. I just didn't like to have a half ogre hitting on me.
Not many people like having a half ogre hit now. Yeah, I know Adrian's always eager to jump in, and as soon as I announced I had an unconfirmed slot, Adrian was like, "Oh, I want it, I want it." So, and then when he confirmed that he couldn't make it, then Adrian jumped in and grabbed that slot. All right, Mr. Connor.
Hi, I'm Connor. If you really like seeing like crocodiles the size of mountains take down an ancient or adult black dragon, you should check out the book called Crythoth, which is a book that Megan and I wrote. It has nothing to do with crocodiles, nothing to do with dragons, but it's all 100% badass. And I mean, if you just want to like, it has similar themes of just awesome wonton badassery. Check it out, Drive Through RPG. It's a cool book, and I have some people here flaunting it because they got the book. You can get it in softcover or PDF, depending on what you're really interested in. I'm enough of a shill now. You don't have to really listen to me anymore. I've done my piece. Megan can fill in the rest. With that said, I had a lot of fun playing on your channel, playing as a wizard, and I realized that wizards get way more powerful the higher level they get.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Just witness what happened in that game. All right, I'm done talking. Have at her.
All right, Karen.
Oh, thank you, Jake. This was really fun. I'm a little sad that my dad just died. I'm not sure how I'm going to take it. Might have to get back at these adventurers somehow, I guess. I don't know. But
what was your wormling's name?
Recalcitrix.
That's right, Recalcitrix. Perhaps one day Recalcitrix will show up against...
Very angry.
That ought to be interesting. I don't know how we'll do that because you're one of the people that it's against.
I could have a split personality, I guess. I don't know.
That's going to have to be a game that Karen runs.
Anyway, thank you so much. It was great playing with everybody. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me at last minute here. That was pretty awesome. So, had a great time.
All right, Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan, one half of the YouTube channel Does Sound Nice, and yeah, this is... Awesome is pretty average on this channel, so...
I think that's meant to be worded as a compliment.
Yeah! It was just so fantastic every time. It's just, becomes a staple, so this is no different, and... a lot of fun.
Jeremy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy. I have the YouTube channel, The Erasmus Expeditions. I do a lot of live plays, and I talk about crafting and RPGs in general and stuff. Tomorrow night, I have a very brand new video series starting called Help Action. And my first guest is going to be Matt Flick, and we are going to be discussing storytelling. So stop on by, ask questions, say hi, all that good stuff. I'm also 1/3 of the Dudes of Yore podcast with my buddies Jeff Doty and Chad Nick. And yeah, man, I get the chance to play on your channel every week, which is an absolute pleasure. And this was a really nice change of pace. I love playing Talmud, and I love all the stuff that we're doing in the Sunless Citadel, but sometimes it's nice to just be able to have the opportunity to step into the shoes of a different character, mechanically and role-playing wise. So I very much am thankful for that opportunity. And yeah, I love playing with everybody. So thank you, guys.
I love one-shots because they give you a chance to try to do the things you always wanted to do without really having anything holding you back. Not necessarily because you care less about your character, but you know it's just this one adventure, this one couple hours of gameplay, so you're more willing to go out, you know, just go balls out and do whatever. I always appreciate having, you know, players like you, all of you. I love telling stories. I love coming up with these ideas, but they're little more than ideas on paper until, you know, players like you bring it to life with your characters and really turn it into what it becomes. I mean, a different group of characters would have had an entirely different experience with this, even though mechanically a lot of the stuff is the same. It's just a different approach. And I played with all of you a number of times, some of you way more than others, Megan. Now Jeremy even, but Megan I played with more than anybody else. Megan's been on so many of my games, and I've been on a lot of her games as well. I just love playing with you guys. I love that you guys bring so much to these games. I want to say a special thank you to the audience. As always, we appreciate your presence. Big shout out to Chameleon Fam, our #1 fan, who always shows up. And even if Talmud isn't wearing the Talmud mask, if Jeremy isn't wearing the Talmud mask, those domain dice are there to support you, buddy. But you guys really burned through those. I think you guys had like upwards of 7 at one point, 7 or 8, and there was only 1 left over. So thanks everybody for coming on this journey into the swamps. This will not be the last Monster Hunter Chronicles. This was just kind of test the waters. It's not so much a setting, but I think it's definitely kind of a almost like an adventure idea thing I could see possibly even writing up sometime. Just a general set of rules and just a different way to approach one-shots. It's an easy skin to say, hey, make a bunch of monster hunters, and we're gonna, in this case I had somebody roll a d10, and that's how we determined level 7. And there's a lot of just monsters out there of different challenge ratings that you can build these kind of short adventures around. I love skill challenges, so I love putting those in my adventures. I think Brian from Initiative Coffee mentioned in the chat they're a holdover from 4th edition. I've just always loved those. So one thing I forgot to promote, I'm going to promote real quick. If you go over to DriveThruRPG and look up the Adventure Mixtape, you will find a product that contains, of the 4 adventures contained therein, one of them is my first ever published adventure, Gorillas in Their Midst, which Jeremy was one of the original players in about 2 years ago when I ran it as a one-shot right here on the channel. It's been refined and revised and turned into an actual adventure that you can run at your own table, along with Treaty of the Tiger King by Kelsey Dion of the Arcane Library, Madness of the Majestic Menagerie by Ken Brees of Burling's Beard, and The Infernal Collection by Sharang Biswas. All 4 adventures. When you buy this book, which is in the top 20 of the hottest Dungeons & Dragons titles on DriveThruRPG, when you purchase this title, you get 4 adventures in 80 pages of book. You get new monsters, you get settings that can fit right into your Waterdeep Dragon Heist or in any seaside city and jungle, or with a little bit of modification you can make it work with any setting. These adventures run from 1st to 5th level. You can mix and match, kind of use them all as a mini campaign, but you also get pre-filled monster combat cards that are a specialty of the Arcane Library. You get those with all of her adventures. She made those up for this, so for all monsters you get these PDFs that have every monster that appears in each adventure are on printable cards, or you can put them on your screen so you don't have to look through your books. For all the SRD monsters and anything else, like I know my adventure has like 6 unique monsters that I created for it. You also get the MP3 downloads of 4 original tracks, 1 for each adventure, created specifically to help set the tone for the adventures. And I'll give you a little hint that the music that goes with the gorillas in their midst, if you listen to Cult of Personality, you've heard it. It's Locrius's, what I've entitled The Awakened Jungle. So that is the track you get from there. But you end up getting something like, I think it's across all 3 tracks, it's something like 20 minutes of music. But the idea is that you can use these tracks to help set the tone for your adventure, whether you're planning it or you play it for your players or whatever. Drive-through RPG, adventure mixtape. We'd be much appreciative if you got a copy and run it at your own table. And if you do that, tell us about it. With that said, we're going to head on out of here. You know all the details about subscribing and following and all that good stuff. So you can keep up to date on Mini Terrain. So just do it. We're going to get out of here. I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every stream, and you can say it with me if you want.
A